If the fence rests, let's lay it down. Gonna dig deep, wave that verdict round. The defense rests, time to analyze. With the evidence, we'll unveil the crime. Justice served in an honest fight. True crime tales till the verdict's right. Solving more than just trivial quests, where sentences rule at the defense rests.
Good morning all. Sorry, powdering my nose. Now it goes. I wasn't actually. How are we all? How are we? Did we have a great weekend? Anyone? No? Dust. It's all good. I'm organised now. Have my drink, check. Have my meal, check. Have my snacks, check. Have my sanity. Oh, fuck. Anyone seen my sanity? Hey, anyone? I've dropped it somewhere. It's got to be here. Good morning, sweet cheeks. Surprise. I thought you might like this one. Welcome back. Oh, I haven't put any makeup on. Haven't eaten my dinner. And again, I prepped for a trial to start today, and lo and behold, what happened? The fucker got transferred to me. So, yeah, back to the drawing board. So we whipped up a new one, and I mean whipped. Actually, I've just printed out my info. Hang on. I'm going to need that because I've watched it. Thank God for AI summaries. All right, so take a breath. It's better. Who's that coming? Could be Elizabeth or Udahef. Udahef, I'm tipping. And as I was doing the thumbnail for this, I'm like, it's got to be a comment in there. Got to be a hottie comment. I feel bizarre because I've rearranged my desk. My camera's in a different position and on a different angle, and I might have gone down to Kmart and bought some bits and bobs like that, the nice little heart LED light in the back there. Yeah. I got a stand for my iPad so that I can have that off the desk and see. Well, that gives me 3 screens then. I've got a stand for my phone, so that's off the desk and charging. Got all my cables sorted. So yes, I like organisation. And then something and then my mouse died last night. So luckily for me, I have been busy, yes. I was procrastinating with cleaning and tidying and sorting, and then my mouse died, and I'm like, fuck, I can't even do any work now. But thankfully, we have a 24-hour Kmart here, and they had some mice on sale for $8. So Jodie did a midnight run down to Kmart. I did put a bra on this time. You'll be happy to know. Yes. Because I hunted high and low. I turned this house upside down because I know I've got, well, I found another wireless one, but I couldn't find the little dongle thing that it connected to. So, yeah, I turned the place upside down. Never mind. But I did get a really, really good sleep last night. And I think the main reason that I'm a bit behind today is I slept until 4 o'clock this afternoon. So, yeah, shit happens. I've got to try and cram everything in and set up a stream in that time. Anywho, so this is a trial from 2021. Well, that's when it went to trial. The actual incident occurred in July of 2018. Now, this involves 20-year-old Mollie Tibbetts. She was an Iowa college student who used to go for a jog every night. She was part of the track team. It was part of her daily routine, and it was a familiar sight around the town. And this particular night was at the 18th of July. She went for her usual evening run, and it was the small town of Brooklyn in Iowa. But she never came home. So she was reported missing on the 19th of July. And I think it might have been a guy called Dalton Jack or Jack Dalton or something like that. I'm not sure. Oh, hello. Hello.
Hey.
Oh, shit. I'm not even on the screen. Oh, yes, I am.
I'm
Who are
not.
you? I just put you on.
It must be your layout.
Ah,
Hi.
hello.
How are you?
Not too bad. How are you? Yes. Don't go there, Teresa. Yeah, it was horrendous. Yeah, I'll fill you in later. So, Miss Mollie, 18th of July, 2018, goes for her run, doesn't return home. Now, there was video footage of a vehicle in the area that was seen numerous times driving back and forth along the area where she was running. And it was identified as, let me see, I can't read now, I've got water in my eyes. A dark-coloured Chevy Malibu. And they traced it back to a Mr. Cristhian Bahena Rivera. Now, initially, he denied even knowing Mollie, but later admitted that he did follow her. And I won't read anymore because I don't want to give away the story. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's actually listed on Court TV's all-time classic archive trials. It's one of those must-watch trials. Like, it's up there with the O.J. Simpson and, Depp v. Heard. Even though Depp v. Heard doesn't interest me at all. But, yeah, it's right up there. So it's supposed to be a good one. It goes for 7 days, which will be good. Because I am sick of covering and chasing bloody live trials at the moment that cancel at the last freaking minute. It's happened to me 2 weeks in a row, and I just thought we can do this at our own pace. We can enjoy it and listen to it and actually concentrate on it instead of rushing and trying to get through and keeping up with everybody else. Fuck that. We're going to do it our way, because that's how we started, and that's where I'd like to go. All right. So, shall we get into it? Let's do it. Now, hopefully
Thank you, Carrie. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at this time, the attorneys will have an opportunity
I've skipped the initial jury instructions and we're going straight into openings.
to make opening statements. In doing so, they may explain to you what they believe are the issues in the case and what they expect the evidence will show. The statements which they now make and the arguments they will later make after all the evidence has been received is not evidence and may not be considered by you as evidence. Also, any statements that they make about the law is not to be considered as the law of this case. Since evidence often comes in piecemeal or out of chronological or logical sequence in the trial of the lawsuit, the statements of counsel are merely to put the facts in perspective. They are intended to give you a thumbnail sketch of the case and outline the evidence to better aid you in understanding the issues and the evidence. Therefore, please give them your complete and full attention at this time. Mr. Claver, on behalf of the state of Iowa, you may give your opening.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mollie Tibbetts. This case is her story. This case is a story of Mollie's disappearance and the story of Mollie's murder. Mollie Tibbetts was 19 years old, going into her sophomore year at the University of Iowa. She was home for the summer, and home for Mollie was Brooklyn, Iowa, a town of about 1,400 people in Poweshiek County. Poweshiek County is located about midway between Des Moines and Iowa City. And on July 18th, 2018, Mollie was house sitting for her boyfriend, Dalton Jack, and his brother, Blake. They resided at 622 West Des Moines Street in Brooklyn.
Oh, before I forget, whilst I remember, it's my baby's birthday today. Happy birthday, Leash.
Happy birthday!
Oh, you can't even see it. Hang on.
Happy birthday!
I have to play that when she comes today. 24 today. Bless. Where did the time go? And she's my baby. And that's her. And my oldest has just bought her first house. Her first house. Can't even speech. So, yes, lots happening in the Jody world. All right. Remove that. Add that. Okay. And we're back.
She was also taking care of the dogs while Dalton and Blake were out of town working. They worked construction. Dalton was in Dubuque. Blake was in Ames. Mollie was an avid runner, and she ran cross country and track in high school.
She's beautiful.
On July 18th, 2018, she put on her multicolored neon running shoes and left the house.
Fix that, please. Sorry.
That's better.
Go ahead, Mr. Claver. Sorry about that.
It was customary for Mollie to run in the evenings, and that's what she did on July 18th. And she had her usual routes. One of those routes took her out of town on a gravel road on 385th Avenue. That's the route she took on July 18th, 2018. Shortly before 8 p.m. that night, Christina Stewart was traveling to her parents' farm to tend the horses, and she passed Mollie on that road. Christina Stewart had known Mollie since Mollie was a small child. And Christina Stewart was a hairstylist in town. She'd cut Mollie's hair. She recognized Mollie. And aside from Mollie's killer, Christina Stewart was the last person to see Mollie alive. Mollie didn't show up for work the next day. She worked at a daycare in Grinnell, which was a few miles from Brooklyn. She'd worked there the summer before, and this was unusual for Mollie. She was a no-call and a no-show. Her family hadn't been in touch with her the night before or that morning. Dalton Jack hadn't been in touch with her. And they began to call each other to find out where Mollie was. They began to get worried. And that's when they contacted law enforcement. And that kicked off an exhaustive, intensive investigation spanning nearly 5 weeks. There were hundreds of people involved, volunteers, local law enforcement, fire departments, the DCI, FBI, and even Homeland Security. and they canvassed the entire town of Brooklyn. They searched nearby fields and waterways, ditches, ponds. The sheriff even went up in a helicopter to search some of the local fields. And as the hours turned into days and days into weeks, every lead they pursued came up empty. After 4 weeks, they were no closer to finding Mollie than when they started. But because of the resources and the investigation that the investigation had, and the number of agents, one of the things they were able to do was collect the security camera footage and surveillance video from around the time frame and date and area Mollie was last seen. And as the agents meticulously went over this video, on one of those
Hello,
from
sound.
Dalton and Blake Jack on East Des Moines Street, they saw a specter, a silhouette of what appeared to be a jogger in the time and the area Mollie was last seen. As they scoured that video for any other clue as to Mollie's disappearance, they noticed a certain vehicle appearing again and again and again on that video. It was a black Chevy Malibu. Now, that's a common make and model, but this one was unique. This vehicle had non-standard rims, it had chrome door handles, and it had chrome mirrors. And shortly after this vehicle was identified as a vehicle of interest in the case, Poweshiek County Deputy and investigator Steve Kibbe was driving home on Interstate 80 when he saw a black Chevy Malibu with the chrome side mirrors. So he followed that vehicle and he approached the driver when it stopped. Driver didn't speak much English, and so he had the help of a neighbor to speak to the driver. Driver identified himself with the birth certificate as Cristhian Bahena Rivera, the defendant. As Deputy Kibbe continued to speak with the defendant, he learned that the defendant worked at Yerby Farms, which was a local dairy farm in Poweshiek County, Iowa. Because of the language barrier, Deputy Kibbe wasn't able to gain much other information from the defendant. He took pictures of the defendant, he took pictures of the vehicle, and he ended that encounter. Not long after that, law enforcement decided they wanted to speak with the defendant further. And on August 20th, 2018, they went to Yerby Farms to find the defendant, speak with him, and canvass the area. They did find the defendant that day in the afternoon, spoke with the defendant, asked if he'd do an interview, to which he agreed. That interview took place at the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office. Now, the defendant's a native Spanish speaker, and so Pamela Romero, an Iowa City police officer, also a native Spanish speaker, was enlisted to conduct that interview. The interview went on for several hours. They talked about where the defendant was from, who his family was, who his friends and associates were, where he worked. And the defendant admitted at that time that he drove a black Chevy Malibu. He was the only person that drove that black Chevy Malibu.
Hello, sir. Sorry, eating my dinner. Not running late today. How are you, sweetheart? Sorry. Do we all have a good weekend? How are you feeling, Tricia? You starting to feel a little bit better? Yeah. Oh, you haven't missed anything. We've just started, but we're doing a new trial. One from the archives from 2020. Mollie Tibbetts. Enjoy.
And then they started talking about Mollie Tibbetts and what he knew about her disappearance. And at first,
Excellent.
the defendant denied knowing anything about Mollie's disappearance, except what he'd seen around town with the flyers and news reports. And then he was showed a still photograph from that surveillance video. It was then that the defendant relented on his story, and he admitted that he had seen Mollie the night she disappeared. He admitted that he found her attractive, that she was hot, in his words. And he
What should I
admitted
say?
after he saw her.
Did you hear me at the start of this when I did the introduction? I said when I was doing the thumbnail, I thought of Uda Hef because she's a hottie. She's beautiful.
The first time he circled back to take a second look. Early in the morning on August 21st, 2018, Deputy Kivy, Officer Romero, and the defendant went to a cornfield off of 460th Avenue, 2478 in rural Powesheet County, near the Powesheet County and Iowa County line. This particular field had a gate and a long grassy ingress or drive that stretched more than 50 yards into the corn. Defendant was interviewed again at that location, and it was there that he made further admissions. He admitted that he'd seen Mollie the night she disappeared, July 18th, 2018. He admitted that he followed her, that he got out of his car. He admitted to jogging to catch up with her, that he wanted to get close to her. He admitted that Mollie didn't want to have anything to do with him, that she threatened to call the police. And he admitted he became angry at that time. He admitted to fighting with her. And then he says the next thing that he remembers, he's driving in his car, the Malibu, and he notices Mollie's earbuds. And he remembers that Mollie is in his trunk. He admits taking Mollie's body out of the trunk. He admits seeing blood on Mollie's body and neck. He admits putting Mollie over his shoulder. And he described the body as someone who had fainted. He admitted taking Mollie into the field, placing her face up, and putting corn stalks on her body, and then leaving. Law enforcement searched the field off of 460th Avenue, and they found a body, decomposed beyond all recognition, wearing multicolored neon running shoes. An autopsy was done of the body. Identity was confirmed as Mollie Tibbetts. Body was examined and determined that Mollie had been stabbed anywhere from 7 to 12 times in the chest, near the ribs, in the neck, and in the skull. The medical examiner determined that the cause and manner of death was homicide by sharp force injury.
Could have picked that.
The defendant's vehicle was searched, the Chevy Malibu, and blood was found on the trunk liner and in the trunk. Analysis was done of that blood, DNA analysis, and it was matched to the DNA taken from the body. It was Mollie's blood in the defendant's Chevy Malibu. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I expect the evidence in this case to show. And when you go back in your deliberations, I'd like you to focus on the three primary aspects of the state's evidence that point to the defendant as Mollie Tibbetts' killer. The first is a video. The video that shows the defendant's black Chevy Malibu in the time and the area where Mollie was last seen. Combine that with the defendant's admissions that he was the only one that drove that
where the body
vehicle
was.
and that he was alone that night. Second aspect of the state's evidence for you to focus on is Mollie's blood in the defendant's Malibu. And the third are the defendant's admissions. His admissions that he saw Mollie, that he found her attractive, that he ran alongside her, that Mollie threatened to call the police, that he became angry, that he fought with Mollie, that he drove to the field at 2478 460th Avenue, the field with the gate and the long ingress into the corn, close to the county line. That he remembered Mollie being in the trunk. That his admissions of taking Mollie's bloody body out of the trunk, putting her on his shoulder, taking her into the field, leaving her there, covering her with corn stalks. Ladies and gentlemen, when you examine this evidence together, there can be no other conclusion than that the defendant killed Mollie Tibbetts. And I'll ask you to return a verdict, the only verdict that the evidence demands, that you find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claver.
He didn't mention anything about a weapon. I didn't find the murder weapon or anything, did they?
Does the defense elect to give their opening at this time?
No, they don't.
Your Honor, we will defer our opening to the conclusion of the state's case. Thank you.
Record will so reflect.
I didn't know that because I read the transcript. Well, bits of it. Okay, let's get to the first witness. Ready, please, Mr. Music? He doesn't look very happy to be there, does he?
Mr. Jack, could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Oh, the boyfriend.
My name is Blake Jack.
Sorry.
Mollie was my brother's girlfriend. She lived with us on the summer that she went missing and was killed.
Hang on just a second. Don't get ahead of me.
Yep.
No,
That's all right.
there's Blake Jack and there's Dalton Jack. And Dalton Jack was Mollie's boyfriend, and that's his brother.
Mr. Jack, currently, where do you live?
622 West Des Moines Street in Brooklyn. Same address as them.
We're gonna.
Let me just stop you for a minute.
Sure.
Mr. Jack, at this point in time, we're having some difficulty with the microphones. We're trying to resolve the problem, but in the meantime, I'd ask you to speak up and project so
Okay.
the jurors can hear you.
Yep, absolutely.
Judge, can we resolve that before he testifies? We need to get this done. I mean, we've got jurors that are sitting in the back of the courtroom. I think they'll have trouble hearing.
I think under the circumstances, why don't we do this? Let's take a 10-minute recess, see if we can get this matter resolved, and we'll be back. Two things I want to indicate before we take our recess, though, and that is, want to remind you of your admonition. Please abide by that. And then I would ask that your seat you're currently in is going to be your assigned seat throughout the trial. That will help us keep track, both of you, and most importantly, your notebooks. So again, you can leave your notebooks, or do leave your notebooks where they are during this and all breaks. But if you could get back to the seat you're currently in, that will also be helpful. Thank you.
I'm glad someone got it.
Because you'll need to know that, won't you, for when you collect the.
All right. Well, that's the end of day one, but we will go into day two. Oh dear. Day. Sorry, we go into day one because that was just opening statements. They've broken it up into day one into 3 parts, I think, by the looks of it. Here we go.
9 p.m. Okay, describe.
I'll just find the spot. Ooh, excuse me.
Or Mr. Jack, we were just discussing.
Every time he says that name, I'm going to think of it now. Mr. Jack.
The day, July 19th of 2018, the day that you came home. All right. So what were the circumstances whenever you left your jobs? Can you just describe what you told your boss and how was it that you got back to Brooklyn?
I was just outright with him. I told him that I hadn't heard from
Different
Mollie
person.
in a while, and I'm trying to get other people to find her, and they can't find her. And I just drove my own POV back to Brooklyn.
Your POV being?
No, my personally owned vehicle. Sorry, my truck, the one I own.
I think that's your Army maybe kicking in a little bit.
That's the Army kicking in right there.
Okay. So did anyone come back with you from Dubuque?
No.
All right. And do you remember about what time it was that you got home on July 19th, 2018 on Thursday?
It was dark. I'd say about 9 p.m.
Okay. Describe where you went whenever you got home.
I went straight to the house.
Okay. To 622
Yes,
West Des Moines?
to my brother's house.
All right. And describe what you saw there at the house whenever you arrived.
There was like a crowd on the lawn, and then the an officer was already there taking statements from people.
Okay. Did you talk to the police?
Yes.
Do you remember the officer that you spoke to?
Matt Simpson. Matt Simpson.
Is he a sheriff's deputy in Poweshiek County?
Yes.
And did you make any other attempts on that evening to contact Mollie?
Yes.
What did you do?
I called her more, texted her more.
Okay. Whenever you would call her, would you get voicemail?
No.
Would you get anything?
No.
All right. Do you have any contact with Mollie Tibbetts?
No.
The following day, did you make attempts to contact her?
I don't remember.
Did you ever join in the search
Yes.
for Mollie? Can you describe what it was that you did?
Me and my brother actually went out that night, and we drove around for a long time, and then we were just kind of checking everywhere that we can do. But then there was a more organized search put on by like the fire department and the police department before the whole thing went through, and then we like sectored out the city and all that fun stuff. And we all
Okay.
took-
Were you a part of that at all?
Yes.
Okay, so you joined in to assist?
Yes.
All right. And did you go back to work at Jasper during the time frame that Mollie was missing?
No.
Okay. Did they give you the time off because of that?
Yes.
That was nice of them.
All right. At this time, I don't have any further questions of Dalton Jack. Thank you.
Defense may cross-examine.
Mr. Jack, good morning. How long is it, again, since you've been in the Army?
I've been in the Army for almost 3 years now.
Okay, what was the date you joined?
November 6, 2018.
So 3 months after Mollie's discovery, right?
Correct.
So did you ever go back to Jasper Construction to work?
Yes.
What was the decision to go to the Army based upon?
I wanted to pretty much leave for a while
Why?
because I grew up there. She grew up there. It's where we kind of built our relationship, and now she was gone. So,
You were heartbroken.
yes.
Mollie was your true love, right?
I would say so, yes.
You had planned on marrying this woman, right?
Yes.
And you were devoted to Mollie, right?
Yes.
People described it as a true love story, right?
Yes.
Is that how you felt about her?
Yes.
Okay. And you've told the jury here today about your activities in the days leading up to Mollie's disappearance, and I want to explore those a little bit. If I understand you correctly, your testimony today is that on the night of Mollie's disappearance, you were in your hotel room for a bit and then hanging out with the boys, drinking beers, playing games, right?
Correct.
And that's your testimony today, correct?
Yes.
We're clear on that.
Yes.
That's not always the story you've given to the police, though, is it?
I don't know.
Well, did you not tell the police in a previous interview that you spent the night in your room watching movies?
That was what I was, yes,
Okay. Do you recall giving that statement?
yes.
Okay. When did you give that statement to police?
I don't know the exact time or date that I gave that statement.
Well, let's come at it this way. How many times were you interviewed by police?
A lot.
Okay. More than 3?
Would say so, I guess, yes.
Okay. As I understand it, you first met with Matt Simpson on the 19th, right?
Yes,
And when you talked to Matt Simpson, that was at your home at 622 West Des Moines Street, right?
yes,
And that was just kind of generally to give him the background of what was going on, right?
yes.
Now, you told Deputy Simpson that nothing really seemed to be out of place. Do you recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that, but I could imagine that I did say that, yes.
Have you reviewed any recordings or any reports relating to Deputy Simpson?
I reviewed the report, yes.
Okay. If Deputy Simpson's report says that's what you said, would you quibble with that?
No,
Quibble.
Okay. Now,
No quibbling, thanks.
do you recall having a conversation with Deputy Simpson saying that the bed was tousled and unmade, which was ironic since Mollie was the last one in it?
again, I don't recall that.
But if Deputy Simpson says that, would you doubt that you made that statement?
No,
And then you talked with Detective Steve Kivy of the Powesheik County Sheriff's Office, I believe the next day, right?
yes,
And that was just in his truck. He's trying to help find Mollie as well, right?
yes.
Do you recall that conversation?
I don't recall every detail of that conversation, no.
Okay. Do you recall telling him what you were doing in Dubuque the night before?
No,
But you do recall, because your recollection's been refreshed by Mr. Brown, that on the 23rd, or strike that, on the 18th, you got a Snapchat from Mollie, and you opened it around 10:30 p.m., right?
yes,
Okay. You also told someone that the last time someone saw Mollie was around 10:30 p.m. that night as well, right?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall saying that to someone?
No,
Do you recall telling police officers that you also went to bed both nights while you were in Dubuque around 10:30?
I don't recall that either.
Okay. Well, you were interviewed a final time by officers, and it was on July 27, 2018. Do you recall that interview?
I don't recall every detail of that interview, but I remember the interview, yes.
Okay. And that interview involved the agent Matt George. Recall the interview?
Yes,
You recall it involved an individual named Lara Ziesler?
I don't recall who that is.
Okay. You recall telling the agents that on the 18th of July, the night that you say Mollie, we know Mollie disappeared and that you were in Dubuque, that you finished work around 6:30 p.m. You recall telling them that on the 27th?
No,
You recall telling the agents that you showered and that night you watched Rush Hour 1 in your room?
is this the night of the 18th?
Jackie
Yes.
Chan.
Then yes,
Okay. Now, your testimony today is that you were out with the boys playing games and drinking beers, right?
yes,
So you told the officers on the 27th of July a different story, right?
I suppose so.
And if I showed you the report, would it refresh your recollection?
Yes,
We'll come back to that, sir. You also told officers on that same interview information that you withheld before, right?
correct.
And that information that you withheld before was that you'd had a relationship with a woman other than Mollie, right?
Correct.
Overruled.
Who was that woman?
Her name was Jordan Lamb.
And what did you tell officers the reason you withheld that information?
I didn't deem it necessary.
You didn't deem it necessary.
I didn't think that it was pertinent to the case.
So you didn't think it was pertinent to tell law enforcement officers that you having an affair on your true love was not pertinent to the case, right?
I was 19 years old.
So what?
Sustained.
Explain to me what you mean by that.
I was 19 years old. It was the beginning of the relationship, and I screwed up one time. Mollie knew about it, and we got past it.
So it was the beginning of the relationship that you had an affair on Mollie?
Yes.
So give me a time frame as to when you had this affair on Mollie. What date?
I don't remember the exact dates, but it was about not even a year after we started dating.
So give me a date.
I don't remember the exact date.
Give me an approximate date, please.
August of 2017, I think it would be, or 2016.
All right, because the officers talked to you about it, and you gave them kind of the details into how Mollie learned about this, right?
Yes.
Mollie was upset that you cheated on her, right?
Yes.
And you gave them the date of the fall of 2017, didn't you?
Yes.
So
I think.
Again, this relationship that you had with Jordan Lamb, tell us how it evolved. How did it start?
I don't remember.
You started Snapchatting her, right?
That sounds about right.
Well, am I right or am I wrong?
Yes, you're right.
You started sending her Snapchats. Why'd you start sending her Snapchats?
Why does anybody do anything that's wrong?
I'm asking you that question.
I don't know.
You have no idea why you started sending a woman Snapchats?
Correct.
Well, you wanted to get with her, right?
I imagine that would be yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want you to imagine. I want you to tell me why you did.
Yes.
You wanted to strike up a relationship with Jordan Lamb, didn't you?
Yes.
And this was in February. Or strike that. This was late 2017, early 2018, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't 2016 like you just told me.
I told you that I don't remember the dates.
Okay. But now you do, right?
Correct.
And you know that now because you've been confronted with these dates by officers, right?
Yes.
And you were confronted with these dates by Mollie, right?
Yes.
So you do remember the dates right now, don't you?
Yes.
2 minutes ago, you didn't remember the dates, right?
Sustained.
So these Snapchats, the reason you use Snapchat was that you send a message and then it disappears, right?
The reason I use Snapchat is because that was my primary form of communication with a lot of people.
But also you use it because you send a message and it disappears and can't be seen by people who get on your phone, right?
That wasn't what I stated in my previous statement.
Okay. So you're telling me that the reason you use Snapchat had nothing to do with the fact that Snapchat disappears after you send a message?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in these Snapchats, you're telling Jordan things like, she's the most attractive girl you ever met, right?
I don't remember the content of the Snapchats.
No object to hearsay and relevance.
Sustained.
As to what ground?
Hearsay.
Where are they? In these Snapchats, this is around the time Mollie was getting ready to go visit her dad in California in March of 2018, right?
I do not recall.
Okay. And were you not telling Jordan that you were going to break up with Mollie?
I also do not recall.
And you were pressing Jordan pretty hard for her to be your girlfriend, right?
I also do not recall.
During this time, you had sexual relations with Jordan.
Oh my
Right.
God.
Yes.
You never told Mollie that, did you?
Mollie knew.
When did Mollie know?
Mollie knew when she confronted me about it.
And how did Mollie find out that you were having sexual relations with Jordan Lamb?
She went through my phone while I was asleep.
She went through your phone?
Correct.
When?
When I was asleep one night.
Was this before or after Jordan Lamb busted you by telling Mollie?
That was during. That's the reason she went through my phone.
Okay. So you'd agree with me that Jordan Lamb messaged Mollie to share with her what you had been doing with Jordan, right?
Yes.
And Jordan told Mollie that you were trying to get with her, right?
I don't object. He's going to have no basis for that knowledge as to what Jordan told Mollie.
Sustained.
Was there information on your phone about Jordan and Mollie talking?
I do not recall.
But again, you didn't seem to think that this relationship with Jordan was relevant, right?
Correct.
Now, when you told Agent George about this, he told you he wanted to set the reset button with you, right?
I don't understand the question.
Agent George told you it was time to set the reset button with you, and he wanted you to be 100% truthful, right?
I don't recall.
Okay. You also then were asked by Agent George if there's anything else that you remembered about that day or that time in your life. Recall that question from Agent George?
I don't recall.
Do you recall from Agent George conversation that you and he were talking about some mysterious man that you had just seen in Brooklyn?
Yes.
And describe that mysterious man that you told him about on July 27th.
I believe that I was mowing the lawn and he just walked by. He was tall, wearing baggy pants with a chain. That's what I remember currently.
Dressed all in black.
If that's what the report says, then yes.
And you had just recalled that day as well?
I don't know.
Okay. You agree with me, you've never given that report of a mysterious man wearing black walking around Brooklyn before July 27th?
The report of the man walking around Brooklyn was after Mollie had already disappeared.
Okay. Would you agree with me that you probably knew Mollie's running routes better than anyone?
No.
Who would know better?
I don't know who would know better, but I barely knew Mollie's running routes.
Well, you testified on direct that you knew her running routes.
I do know her running routes, yes.
But now it's just you barely knew her running routes.
I didn't know that she ran out to the blacktop.
Okay. Now, cue up. We're trying to show you what technology works. Check. What's been marked as defendant exhibit Q for identification. Now you turned over your phone for examination, right?
Yes.
And that phone was examined, right?
Yes.
Was it returned to you?
Yes.
Were you given a copy of the report?
No.
Have you seen the report?
No.
Okay. We're having some technology problems today. Windows P. There it is.
Yes.
Is your testimony, Mr. Jack, that on July 18, okay, the day Mollie goes missing, I just want to be clear on timeline here, that you texted her that morning, good morning, beautiful?
Correct.
And did you text throughout the day with her?
I don't know.
Pardon me?
One other time.
On the 18th?
Yes.
And do you recall texting with her around dinner time?
No.
She didn't ask you if you had a better day today?
I don't recall that, no.
So this is the day your love of your life goes missing. And you don't recall that?
No.
Did you not go back and try to recreate the day that your love of your life goes missing in an attempt to maybe figure out how she was wound up missing?
From the moment that it started, I knew that I was not a investigator of any sort.
Okay, but even for your own peace of mind, you didn't go back and try to recreate this?
My own peace of mind came by trying to get her back.
Okay, did you not go back and look at your phone and look at your text messages and your Snapchats to just kind of rehash the days leading up to this?
No.
Not once?
No.
Okay.
No. No.
Well, what is your understanding of the time that Mollie would have been likely abducted?
I've had it on the back burner for probably about 7 months. It's been sitting in my my playlist ready to go. And I just haven't had a chance to get to it. But it's actually right up there in the if you go onto Court TV's all-time, binge-worthy trials or whatever it's called, it's listed in there with the O.J. Simpson and the Depp v. Heard and a heap of the top. Like, this is their recommended playlist. So I know, you have. You've been very, very patient. Had you seen it before, or you just heard about it? It goes for 7 days, and that's pretty much all I know about this. It went to trial in 2021, but the incident was in July 2018.
I don't understand the question.
What is your understanding of the time of day on the 18th
I'm not
that
beating
Mollie was likely
the
abducted?
pythons.
For normal running time is what I assumed.
Okay, so no one's told you, you haven't done any investigation as to what time of day Mollie was abducted? Exactly.
Every detail of the case I wanted omitted from me because I don't want to know.
You don't want to know?
No.
Okay. All right, let's back up a little further then. July 16th is a Monday, right?
Yes.
We know that because the 18th was a Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Monday you didn't work in Dubuque?
Monday I worked in Dubuque.
Okay. So Monday night was a typical night. You were hanging out with the boys in the room, right?
Yes.
Who's your roommate?
Brandon Gordy.
And Brandon's a young man you grew up with?
I didn't grow up with Brandon Gordy.
He's from Brooklyn though, right?
Yes. But he was older than I was.
Okay. Did you text and Snapchat Mollie that night?
Yes.
What time did you go to bed?
I don't go.
Around 10:30? Sound about right?
Sure.
Is that
Yes.
your normal bedtime?
Yes.
Tuesday, you get up. What time did you go to work that day?
Same time as always, 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere there.
Okay. And you worked all day until about 6 o'clock that night, right?
Yes.
Long day.
Yes.
Now, is that the day that someone sprayed your car with some sealant?
It was either Tuesday or Monday, but yes.
Made you pretty upset.
Yes.
So upset that you wanted to quit, right?
Yes.
You wanted to go home, see Mollie, right?
Yes.
But you didn't. Why not?
Because the pay benefits, what else was I going to do?
Okay. Mollie talked you out of it, right?
Yes.
And that night, did you hang out with the guys drinking beer? And
I don't recall.
Okay. Well, if you told investigators you drank a bunch of beer that night and got drunk and was hungover Wednesday morning, would that sound about right?
Yes.
And that makes sense because you were angry and probably drank one or two too many beers, right?
Yes.
Who sprayed your truck?
I don't remember who sprayed my truck, but it was somebody on one of the other crews.
Okay. And you were upset with him?
Yes.
You told Mollie you were upset with him?
Yes.
Okay. It was a Hispanic gentleman, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And then on Wednesday, you went back to work and another normal day, right?
Yes.
And you don't recall Mollie texting you at the end of the day and asking you if you had a better day?
No, I don't.
Okay. And you don't recall texting Mollie at 8:18 or 8:19 that night?
No, I don't.
You don't recall sending her a text message saying my phone data straight up won't work?
No, I don't.
Okay. And it's your testimony that you opened a Snapchat from Mollie at 10:30 p.m., right?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that the Snapchat records that were retrieved by investigators would more accurately show those times than your recollection?
Absolutely.
Can you think of any reason in your mind why those records would show that you opened that last Snapchat at 1:30 a.m. on the 19th?
I was just awake. Woke up in the middle of the night.
Okay, so if they show 1:30 a.m., that's accurate, right?
If that's what the records.
I think she's sitting at the end of the desk, so she's like leaning around to see, I think.
Show, yes.
Okay, so your recollection of that could be faulty.
Yes.
You have no recollection of texting Mollie at 8:18 p.m. on July 18th saying, my data straight up won't work.
I don't.
The last message you sent your girlfriend on the day she was abducted.
Correct.
Okay. Now, on your phone, you have a number of apps, right?
Yes.
You have an Apple iPhone, right?
Yes.
On that Apple iPhone, you have things like Find My iPhone.
Yes.
Tell me what Find My iPhone is.
Find My iPhone, if you have paired the iPhones, allows you to find the other iPhone.
Okay, so like I have kids, and I can do Find My iPhone to find my kids and where they are at any given time. Did you have the same thing with Mollie?
No.
So you had Find My iPhone. Do you have anybody else on Find My iPhone that you could locate?
No. The way Find My iPhone works is if you're on the same phone bill, then you can do it. Or if you pair them, you can do it. Me and Mollie never paired and we weren't on the same phone bill.
Okay. Would there be any reason why you were on Find My iPhone on July 18th, 2018?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Well, who was on your Find My iPhone that you can locate at that time?
Nobody.
Okay. You also have Progressive for a insurance company, right?
Not anymore, but at the time I did, yes.
Okay. And that application was on your phone as well, right?
Yes.
And that app would keep track of how you drove.
Yes.
And if you drove well, like you didn't speed or stop short or get in an accident, you would get rewarded for good driving behavior, right?
Correct.
Did you check that app often?
No.
But it would automatically kick in if your vehicle was on the move. Is that your understanding?
Correct, yes.
Do you recall checking your Progressive app that night?
No, but I rarely swept up and closed my apps on my phone.
Okay. But your understanding is of the Progressive app, they call it Snapshot, right?
Yes.
Snapshot kicks in when your vehicle is on the move, right?
Yes.
And it's your vehicle, no one else's, right?
No.
And you're telling me that your vehicle on July 18th, 2018 was not on the move?
No.
9 o'clock that night, you were drinking beer with buddies and playing bags, right?
Correct.
You also have an app on your phone called Maps, right?
Yes.
Now, Maps, you can keep directions or drop a pin and drive to someone's location, right?
Yes.
You've done that before, right?
I've used maps to get directions, yes.
Would there be any reason why you were using Apple Maps on your phone in the evening of July 18th, 2018, after, let's say, 10 p.m.?
Not that I can think of.
If your phone activity shows that you were using Apple Maps that night, can you think of any reason why?
That I would have not closed it.
Okay. When was the last time you would have used Apple Maps to your knowledge?
To get up to the Butte.
Okay. Now,
hang on. I don't get this. He's asking him all of these questions about the shit on his phone. Surely to Christ, the phone data shows where he was. No?
who is Ulysses Felix?
Ulysses Felix was the he's a kid that worked with Scott. Not worked with Scott. Went to school with Scott.
You ever met Ulysses Felix?
Yes.
Did you know Ulysses Felix prior to Mollie's death?
I knew of him, yes.
Pardon me?
I knew of him, yes.
Okay. Did you know where he lived?
No.
Oh, Tracy, yes. No.
Direct.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you. You don't have to do that, you dag. But I do have to do this. Yay! I get to play again.
To the person that just gave us a super chat. Humanity is just the best. Love you all the distance.
Yes. Thank you, sweetheart. That is lovely. You don't have to do that. That's why I put $2 ones up there. Oh dear, you're a dag, but thank you. Love your guts.
Did you know where he worked?
No.
It's good, isn't it?
He's also a friend of Jake Tibbets too, right?
It's actually good that it mutes my mic when that's on too.
Yes.
And this is the same Ulysses Felix that after Mollie's death wound up living with Laura, right?
Correct.
Let's talk about you, young man. You consider yourself to have a temper?
Not anymore.
You did, though, at one time?
Yes.
Pretty angry young man?
When I was about 17, 16, yes.
Okay, so how old were you when Mollie died?
20.
When you're 17, 16, tell us about the temper that Dalton Jack had.
Jack Dorellis.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Tell me about the temper of the 16, 17-year-old Dalton Jack.
It was not good. It was short fused.
Like the fight?
Yes.
In fact, one time you choked a man
Oh,
out,
boy.
right?
This is improper character evidence, specific instance of conduct.
People, hormone,
This is not relevant.
puberty.
Sustained on that ground.
But you've been known to fight, right?
Yes.
And when you fought, your friends were right there with you, weren't they?
Yes.
They all had each other's backs, right?
Yes.
Those friends included Dylan Eichhorn.
Dylan Eichhorn was older than me, so no.
How much older was Dylan?
Dylan graduated with my older brother who was just in here.
Okay. You know Jackson Eichhorn?
Yes.
Is he a friend?
No. He graduated with my younger brother.
Okay. But you all know each other, right?
Yes.
You work with Dylan, right?
Yes.
Around the time that Mollie was abducted or died, you told her a number of times that you thought you were depressed, right?
Correct.
And that manifested itself with anger, you said, right?
There's no objective relevance again.
Sustained.
3 days. 3 days before Mollie ends up missing, she told you that she was upset and sad because of your relationship with Jordan, right?
Yes.
The day before she ends up missing, you learned that she and Hope Beck had talked about your relationship with yet another woman named Tara, right?
Objection, this calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
I don't recall that at all.
You don't know that?
No.
Either you don't know it or you don't recall it.
Don't recall it.
Okay. You told police that they asked you if Mollie was jealous. You told her that there was a woman named Tara as well, right?
If that's what the report says, and yes.
I'm not asking what the report says. I'm asking you what you said.
I don't recall.
You don't recall telling the police about Tara?
No.
Was there a Tara?
Yes.
Okay, so there's another woman that you had at least some conversations with, right?
Yes.
That was during your relationship with Mollie.
That was simultaneous to starting the relationship with Mollie.
Okay. And who
I don't like
told
you,
you,
Dalton.
or got a hold of you first as Mollie's friend about whether or not Mollie was missing?
Yeah.
Also, an old relationship of yours.
Yes.
Also, a woman who made Mollie jealous, right?
Objection, this calls for speculation.
Sustained.
You and Mollie had conversations in the weeks and month leading up to her abduction about Emily asking about you, right?
I don't recall that at all.
There was a time where Emily would be at parties and stuff and ask about you.
Object, calls for speculation, calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay. Emily Fenner, when she texted you, that's what she did. She texted you, right?
She called me. She texted me and called me. Yes.
When she texted you, she asked you a very specific question, didn't she?
I don't recall.
She asked you, Dalt, because she called you Dalt, right?
Yes.
And she said, Dalt, is Mollie alive? Didn't she?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't recall the text messages.
Okay. You'd agree with me that's an odd question to ask someone?
It's argumentative, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
How long was it before Mollie was abducted that she started wearing her promise ring again?
I don't recall.
Was it a week?
Yeah.
What have you done for yourself for testimony, sir?
Like yesterday, so very little.
You know, we're here a charge of murder for the love of your life, right?
Yes.
I'm getting a lot of I don't recall out of you, right?
Yes.
And you want the man who did this about justice, right?
Yes.
And you haven't, it's important for your mind to have detail remembered.
When I was asked if I wanted to be here voluntarily, I said absolutely not.
So you didn't want to be here voluntarily?
No, I didn't want to be anything you're offended there.
Oh.
No.
So you didn't want to come give testimony to get justice for your love of your life?
No.
You wouldn't be here to fight for
Really?
it?
No.
Okay.
My internet connection. I've got I'm Ethernetted. I'm like cabled. Oh. Okay. It shouldn't be unstable at all, my love. Let me close a couple of tabs. I might do it.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, any redirect?
Yeah. Dalton, let's be clear. You cooperated with me prior to trial to prepare you here today. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. We talked on the phone a number of times. Isn't that right?
Yes.
The reason why we wouldn't have met in person is because you're in the Army stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Yes.
Do you remember a time when this case was pending when you had been deployed overseas?
Yes.
Where did you go? Can you tell us?
Iraq.
All right. And whenever you were in Iraq, you communicated with me, correct?
Yes.
And it was mainly about the case, about when it was going to be scheduled and that type of thing. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So you've always wanted to assist and do what you can. Is that right?
Sustained. Rephrase the question,
Sure,
please.
I can do that. Describe your level of, you cooperated with us. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And we sent you some reports, correct, to review? I'll rephrase it. What did we, sorry.
Sustained. Rephrase.
Yeah, what did we send you to review for this case?
You sent me 2 reports.
All right. And did we sit down with you to prepare you?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us the reason again why you don't want to be sitting in this room right now.
Because of the defendant being here.
Okay, and why?
I'm obviously not his biggest fan.
Okay. You were in a relationship with Mollie Tibbetts, correct?
Yes.
Is that why you don't want to be sitting with this man right here?
Correct.
Because you think he's responsible for her death, isn't that right?
Speculation invades the profits of the jury.
Invades the profits of
Well,
the jury.
I'll
I've not
sustain
heard
that,
that
but I'm going to
before.
allow Mr. Brown to rephrase the question.
Wow. I gotta get I gotta play that again.
Speculation invades the profits of the jury.
Is that a thing? Or has CC's picked that up wrong? I'm gonna have to Google that.
Well, I'll sustain that, but I'm going to allow Mr. Brown to rephrase the question if he so chooses.
Why do you not want to be sitting in this room with that guy, with this man?
I wholeheartedly believe he's guilty.
All right, let's talk about hang on just 1 second. All right, so whenever you went to Dubuque with Jasper Construction on the week that included July 18th, tell us how many people would you have been around that week that would have known you?
That would have known me?
Yes.
Oh, the entirety of my crew, which was 7 people. And then there was a few on the other crew that I had worked with before. So I'd say probably 10 to 12 that knew me.
Okay. And in order to get from your home to Dubuque or to the job location, did you have to use any apps or applications on your phone?
Absolutely.
What was that?
Maps, for sure.
Okay. And on your phone, can you describe for the jury whether or not your phone keeps your trips in its memory?
Yes, it does.
All right. So if you would have entered the address that you were going to, the bridge or wherever it was you were working on the week that included July 18th, would that have been in your phone?
Yes.
And would you have utilized that to get to your job site?
Yes.
Bottom line, Mr. Jack, did you ever come home between the time you left for your job on the week that included July 18th and when you got back on July 19th? Did you ever come back to Brooklyn, Iowa?
I did not.
Right. The relationship with Jordan, Mr. Freeze asked you about that. Do you recall that?
Yes.
How long did that last?
About a day.
Okay. Now, did Mollie Tibbetts find out about that relationship?
Yes.
And had you two worked through that?
Yes.
Did you ever break up over it?
No.
To your knowledge, did any of Mollie's family members know about your relationship with Jordan?
They do now.
Okay. Did they know it back then?
Not at the time, no.
Well, let me be clear. Not at the time that it was happening, right?
No, not the time that it was happening.
Okay. Did they find out about it later?
Yes.
All right. Have you maintained a good relationship with Mollie's parents, Laura and Rob,
Yes.
despite the fact that you had had this brief relationship with
Objection,
Jordan?
relevance.
Let him finish the
I'm sorry.
question. Overruled. Go ahead. The witness may answer if he knows.
I'm sorry. Can you say the question again?
Yeah. Did you maintain a good relationship with Rob Tibbetts and Laura Calderwood, Mollie's parents, after this knowledge about Jordan came out?
Yes.
All right. It was in the past.
Yes.
Do you know the defendant, Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
No.
Have you ever met him at all prior to July 18th of 2018?
No.
Did you know he drove a black Chevy Malibu?
No.
Have you ever had access to the black Chevy Malibu driven by Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
No.
To your knowledge, did Mollie Tibbetts have any type of relationship with Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
No.
To your knowledge, did Mollie Tibbetts have access to the black Chevy Malibu driven by the defendant, Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
No.
No connection between either you or Mollie and the defendant. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Freeze, any recross?
Mr. Jack, despite communicating with Mr. Brown from Iraq, despite preparing with Mr. Brown while you're here, you still don't recall a lot of the pertinent facts, right?
Yes.
And that's because you're choosing to?
No, it's because it wasn't in the 2 reports that I received.
Oh, okay. And you agree the facts you don't recall are ones that are not advantageous to you, right?
The gentleman object is argumentative.
That's sustained.
As early as a month before Mollie was abducted, you two were talking about breaking up, right?
I do recall that, and yes.
Okay. So things weren't all rosy between you and Mollie in the last 30 days before her abduction, were they?
No.
And you didn't like the fact that if Mollie was going to be leaving you and maybe going with someone else, that bothered you.
That would bother anybody, but yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't the first time that bothered you because you two were supposed to move in together in October 2017.
Correct.
And when she told you she was going to move in with friends, that got you angry as well.
Yes.
You didn't want her moving in with friends. You wanted her moving in with you.
I was upset that she went back on the plan that I had been going with for the last year and a half after that.
Okay. It made you very angry,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Did you ever tell Mollie that you didn't like other men looking at her?
Not that I recall.
Only
No.
just.
Okay. Okay. Sure about that?
Objection,
I'm going
Judge.
to give you a.
Again, he's answered the question.
It's overruled. He can.
Do you want me to give you a quick overrun? July 18th, Mollie Tibbetts, 20. She was a student at Iowa College, went for a run, which she normally did of a night time, and didn't return home. Her boyfriend is the person on the stand now, Dalton Jack. He was in Dubuque at the time, working. And so Mollie didn't return home. She disappeared. Took them 4 weeks to find her. But the way they found her was from CCTV footage. They tracked down the defendant's car and interviewed him. He initially denied knowing her, but then admitted that he had met her that night and that he had driven beside her and she had threatened to call the police, and he got mad. So he reckons he blacked out then, doesn't remember anything until he's driving somewhere up near some cornfields, and he remembers that Mollie's in the back of his truck, and he dumps her in the cornfields and drives off, and eventually takes the police there to find her body. But apparently doesn't recall anything in the middle there. So this is the recross of the first of her boyfriend. So you haven't missed a great deal.
You can clarify if he needs to. Go ahead.
Sure about that?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. Brown, are we done with this witness?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Mr. Jack, thank you for being here. You're excused.
Your Honor, for the record, Mr. Jack is likely to be recalled by the defense, so he remains under subpoena.
Judge, we've already addressed this with the defense. We understand that, and he understands that.
Okay.
So
Thank you. You don't have to do that. Thank you. Hang on. I gotta do this.
Not out to the person that just gave us a super chat. This community is just the best. Love you all the different.
I love it. I've been creating this new segment that thank you, Dylan. That I want to do and present some cases from start to finish, like in a storytelling way. And I'm halfway through one, but I've called this segment "Let's All Get Up in Show Business." So I was playing over the weekend with an intro for it. And I thought, I might get on and do an AI song. So this is what it made for me. Wrong one, sorry. I haven't downloaded it. That's the old one. Where is it? Shabish. There we go. You thought your new earpods broke. Yeah, it was as soon as I went to what was I doing?
Or from the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I was going to show you a
You'll be seated right over there if you would.
video. Don't know what happened there.
Mr. Brown, you can proceed when you're ready.
it's Mr. Claver. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Mr. Claver. Sorry about that. State may proceed.
Could you state your name, please?
Matthew William Simpson,
And who is your employer?
Powashik County Sheriff's Office.
What do you do for the sheriff's office?
I'm a patrol deputy
And how long have you held that position?
since 2009.
Can you describe your training and experience as it pertains to your employment?
Graduated from the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy in 1999 with previous employment before getting hired by Powashik County, and then multiple continuing training.
Do you have other law enforcement experience
Yes, I do. I had 10 years with Henry County Sheriff's Office.
as a deputy?
Yes,
Are you a certified peace officer in the state of Iowa?
I am.
Deputy Simpson, what do your duties entail with the Powashik County Sheriff's Office?
Duties are general patrol, investigations, and I also help with the sex offender registry.
And were you on duty on July 19th, 2018?
I was.
And what shift were you working that day?
I do the night shift. It's 4 p.m. to 4 a.m.
And did you receive a missing person call when you were working that shift?
I did.
And can you describe that call for me?
I was called to the house of Blake Jack. I believe it was 622 West Des Moines Street in Brooklyn, Iowa, for a missing person.
And do you recall the approximate time that that report came in?
I believe it was 5:56 p.m.
Is Brooklyn in Poweshiek County?
It is.
And did you respond to that call?
I did.
And who was on the scene when you first arrived?
Blake Jack and I believe his girlfriend Allie, along with a couple other people that weren't identified.
Do you recall the approximate time that you arrived at the residence?
I don't recall approximate time.
And do you know who was living at 622 West Des Moines Street at that time?
It was Blake Jack, his girlfriend Allie, and Blake's brother Dalton. And I believe Mollie Tibbetts had been staying there as well.
And who was identified as missing?
Mollie Tibbetts.
When was the last reported communication that anybody had with Mollie?
I believe I talked to her mom, Laura Calderwood, and she had a conversation with her the previous night at 5:30 for a conversation about having supper. I believe that was the 18th.
And did you go inside the residence?
I did.
What did you observe in the residence?
A normal farmhouse where 4 20-something two couples were living. It wasn't unkept, but it was, dishes in the sink, just a typical teenager house.
Did you find Mollie Tibbetts at the residence?
I did not.
Did you see any sign of a struggle?
I did not.
Were there dogs at the house?
They had dogs that were pinned up in the basement.
And did you go to the basement to investigate?
I did.
What did you see when you were there?
I found the dogs pinned into a room. There was some dog poop on the floor. Blake had told me that was common. The dogs were pinned up if anybody was out of the home. If somebody was in the home, they'd be let free.
Anything else of note that you discovered in the house?
I don't believe so. I looked in her room where she stayed with Dalton when they were home. There was nothing of consequences in the house. They advised me the doors were usually left unlocked. We did find a freshly delivered package at the front door. I believe it was FedEx that had dropped that off, and there was one by the side door, by the garage, that was delivered by the post office.
Did you seize any evidence?
I don't believe so at that time.
Was anything noted as missing from 622 West Des Moines Street?
I don't believe so.
And did you go anywhere else to further your investigation aside from 622 West Des Moines Street?
I went to the home of Laura Calderwood, where Mollie had also stayed.
What's the address there?
I believe it's 114 Bear Creek Drive.
In Brooklyn?
It is in Brooklyn.
And was anything noted as missing from that residence?
Laura recalled that her running shoes and earbuds were missing.
Did you do anything else to attempt to locate Mollie on July 19th?
I had dispatch ping her cell phone number. I was advised later that it was either off or in a roam state. I contacted my sheriff and also later contacted our investigator, Steve Kivy.
Did anyone report having seen Mollie on July 18th, 2018?
I was advised, I believe it was Blake that stated one of the neighbors had seen her on the 18th. And I later spoke with that neighbor, Nate Hopwood, about seeing her the day prior.
What was Mollie reported to have been doing?
Running past the residential area.
And that was on July 18th?
Yes.
How long were you in Brooklyn during your investigation?
I believe probably a couple hours. I'm not sure on specific time.
Did you ever contact Deputy Steve Kivy?
I did.
And who is he?
He's the investigator for the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office.
Did you have any other involvement in this case after you conducted the initial investigation?
I did not.
And why is that?
The following day, I was leaving on vacation, so I was out of the area for an extended period of time, and then my duties didn't bring me back into the case.
Thank you, Deputy. I have no further questions for you.
Thank you, Mr. Claver. Defense may cross-examine.
So, sir, you received this call, and it's probably not unusual to receive a call that someone's not can't be located. Is that right?
Correct.
Typically, it doesn't end up like this, and it ends up that it's closed fairly quickly. Is that right?
Correct.
Here, you respond and you go directly to the 622 Des Moines Street house. Is that right?
That's right.
When you get there, describe what you see.
House sitting back from the roadway. There was, I would guess, 6 people there other than Blake Jack and his girlfriend at the time, Allie. There was starting to be a little bit of a commotion because they're worried about their friend.
So these people, and they're not disorderly, but they're worried and frantic. Is that right?
Correct.
So your job, first of all, is to kind of make everybody calm and to deal with what is a high conflict and emotional situation. Is that right?
Correct.
Was there anybody that was sort of a lead person that you talked with?
At that point, it was Blake. He was home at the time.
All right. And Blake conveyed the information of what was going on. Is that right?
Correct.
When's the first time that you spoke with Dalton Jack?
It had been later that evening.
So he was not home yet. Is that right?
Correct. I was advised he was in Dubuque driving home.
Describe your first contact with Dalton Jack.
Normal for somebody that, boyfriend finds out his girlfriend's missing. He's concerned.
Was he crying?
I don't recall.
Was he talkative?
I don't recall.
Did he tell you when he last spoke with Mollie?
I believe he said he'd gotten a Snapchat.
What time was that Snapchat at?
He'd opened it at 10:30 the night before.
Did he tell you when the last time that he spoke with her via text message?
I don't recall text message.
No further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Claver, anything of this witness?
No questions, Your Honor.
Go ahead. Thank you for being here. You're excused.
Thank you.
Members of the jury, we'll take our lunch recess at this time. Before we do so, I want to remind you of your admonition. Make sure you're not discussing the case with anyone. Make sure you're not doing any type of independent research. Make sure you're not.
Next. Here's my playlist. There it is. Just watch that one. Oh. Shh. So we had that one, that one. That must be that one then. There's, holy crap. There's day one, day one, day one, day one. Really? They've separated it into. So this is Dalton Jack, yeah. Oh, that was Blake. Ah, okay. So we missed the start. That one we haven't seen. Okay. I wondered where he'd gotten to. That's a bit confusing.
And where do you live?
622 West Des Moines Street in Brooklyn.
How long have you lived at
And this is
622
when
West Des Moines Street in Brooklyn?
When we did the opening statements, they started to do his testimony, and then they had some microphone issues. And so, yeah, this must be part one of day one. But there's 3 of them. Well,
3.5 years.
we'll get there.
Do you live there currently with anyone else?
Yep, my wife,
Okay. What's your wife's first name?
Allie,
All right. How long have you been married?
since 2019 of August.
All right. I probably wasn't going to ask your anniversary.
was
It's
that?
okay.
Yeah.
But do you also have children?
Yes, we do.
All right. And how many kids do you guys have?
Welcome.
We've got one son, Brayson, and we have another one on the way.
All right. Back in July
you.
of 2018, were you also residing at 622 West Des Moines in Brooklyn?
Yes.
And who was living with you at that point in time?
Well, at that time was my fiance, but still Allie, my brother Dalton, and his girlfriend Mollie.
Let's take a look at some exhibits here. going to put Exhibit 4 on the screen. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. On the left side of this Exhibit 4, which has been admitted into evidence, it says 622 West Des Moines Street. You see that?
Yep.
Is that where you reside?
You
Yes.
see my
Right.
little
And
boy
is this generally what
on the
town are
couch?
we here? Is on the
asleep,
Brooklyn.
that black blob.
Okay.
Felix.
Mr. Jack, where is it that you are employed?
I'm self-employed. I own my own construction company.
Okay, how long have you had that construction company?
Going on 3 years. I was kind of half and half when I first got started, still working for another construction company and kind of part-time for myself as well, just trying to get going. So, but I've been full-time employed for myself for about 2 years now.
Okay, and do you have other employees?
Yes.
Okay, how many?
Right now we have 6 full-time employees.
Okay. So you stay pretty busy
Oh yeah.
with that business. What kind of construction is it?
New construction primarily. We do some remodels, but we try to build houses is primarily what we try to do.
Like somebody's home, residential properties?
Yep. Residential's all we get into. We don't dive into commercial or industrial.
Do you have siblings?
I do. 2 brothers, Dalton and Randy.
Okay. And is Dalton older or younger?
Randy Jack.
Dalton's younger. He's
Ah,
3 years
Randy
younger.
Jack.
And how about Randy?
Randy's 3 years younger than him, so 6 years younger than me.
So you're the oldest
I'm
of
the oldest.
of the
Yep.
boys?
Yep.
Prior to her death, Mr. Jack, did you know Mollie Tibbetts?
Yeah, I knew her from just being my brother's girlfriend, and she'd come to family events, and got to know her a little bit more whenever she started living with us part-time when Dalton moved in with me and my wife. So yeah.
Okay. How long had Dalton lived with you and Allie prior to July of 2018? Do you remember?
Well, we bought the house in October, and he moved in pretty much as soon as we bought the house. We did some small remodel projects before he moved in, but shortly after we moved in, he moved in with us as well.
You moved in October of 2017.
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. And did you get to know Mollie over that time period while she and Dalton dated?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the, when she lived with us, that was the busiest time of year for me, so I wasn't at home all the time. But they would eat dinner with us occasionally. Their room was upstairs and our room was downstairs, so we kind of kept to our separate areas. They were constantly in their room and stuff. So, but we ate dinner together, got to know her pretty well, got to know her family a little bit and stuff. I knew her brothers from sports and I coached them and stuff. So,
okay. So where were you employed in the summer of 2018?
I was self-employed at that time. I was working on a basement finish job. We were finishing out a basement over a new house over in Newton at that time.
So did you own your own construction business
Yes.
back in 2018?
Yep, I did.
All right. And the week of July 16th, which would include July 18th, where were you physically located?
I would go to the job site in Newton, and my wife, who worked for a seed corn company, was staying up in Ames as a field inspector at a hotel there with the rest of her colleagues. And so I would go up there and stay with her those couple of days during that week.
Okay. We'll talk to you a little bit more in detail about what you were doing that week. But as of July of 2018, did you know any person named Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
No.
Have you ever met anyone that you recall that had that name?
No.
To your knowledge, Mr. Jack, had Dalton Jack or Mollie Tibbetts ever mentioned the name Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
No.
Okay, let's talk more specifically about the week of July 18th, okay?
Yep.
All right. So I know you've told us you were working, but I want to direct your attention back to that week. When was it that you left town to go to Newton to work on this construction job that you've already described?
I was working there every day. We were probably midway through the process of that remodel or that finishing that basement. So I was going there every day for work, even weeks before that and weeks after that.
Okay, so were you traveling to Newton and then coming home in the evening, or did you stay over that week?
That week I stayed those 2 days with my wife in Ames. But primarily I was coming home in the weeks prior. I mean, if I had a softball game, I'd come back home for softball, which was Mondays and Fridays. But that week I was staying with my wife in Ames.
So on what was the plan with regard to your house and who was going to be there while you were gone?
Didn't know until Monday night that Dalton wasn't going to be, he was traveling to Dubuque, which for him to be on the road was pretty common at that time. So all I asked Mollie to do was just let the dogs in and out. They were if we put them in the basement, they could stay down there. They had food and water and stuff like that available to them. So it wasn't like, we had to be there all the time. So just let them out a couple times a day and that would be enough.
Okay. So what was the practice with the dogs? When there was nobody home, where would you put them?
We'd put them in the basement. And the reason we did that is we have an old 4-square farmhouse, and the basement's, just a regular 4-square farmhouse basement, concrete floor, but it's not finished, and then all the utilities and stuff are down there. Toby, our younger dog, had epilepsy, and so if he would have a seizure episode when we were not around, he would, soil himself, and we didn't want that up above in the living space. So to prevent any of that big messes to clean up, we put him in the basement. Obviously they had their food and their beds and stuff down there, but that way if we had to clean something up, it wasn't up in our living space. So,
All right. So what was the plan that week then with regard to you and Dalton and Mollie? What were the arrangements that were made?
well, there wasn't any drawn out really arrangements. It's just that I asked Mollie to let the dogs out while I was gone and just told her I was staying with Allie and Ames. That was really the only, it wasn't a formal arrangement by any means, but that was just kind of what we decided upon just because I was going to be gone. And with Dalton being out of town, she had no problem. She had some stuff there anyway, so it wasn't a big inconvenience for her to come let them out.
Okay. So when was the last time that you saw Mollie Tibbetts alive?
Monday, I don't remember the day, whatever that Monday was before she went missing.
Okay. So that would have been July 16th, if Wednesday, July 18th was when
Right.
she went
Yep.
missing. Is that right?
16th. Yep.
So how was it that you got to Newton?
I drove there.
Okay. And Allie go with you, or did she drive separate?
What's going on?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I just assumed Dalton would take care of it because, he lived there. Whenever I found out from
not me.
Mollie,
That
whenever
was
I asked her to let the dogs out, the dog
Dave.
wasn't going to be there, then I just decided to let her take care of them for us.
And that arrangement was okay with you?
Yeah.
All right. Did you have any communication at all, Mr. Jack, on Monday or Tuesday with Mollie Tibbetts that you have not already described to us?
No.
Did you have any communication with your little brother, Dalton Jack, on Monday or Tuesday that you haven't already told us?
No.
By the way, when did he tell you that he was going to be working in Dubuque?
It had to have been Monday, or it had to have been Tuesday, because that was the day I can't remember exactly. It had probably been Tuesday, because that was the day I was going to go up to see Allie to be sure. I wanted to be sure the dogs were going to be taken care of.
And was it your understanding that Dalton then was going to be out of town for the remainder of the week?
Right. He said he was going to be out of town it might have been a couple weeks. So,
okay. So I want to now direct your attention to Thursday, July 19th of 2018. Did you receive any contact from Dalton Jack?
he called me right as I was wrapping up with work for the day and just asked me to, when I got home, to check on Mollie and see what was going on. Said he hadn't heard from her and that she
I don't know what happened.
Or that she hadn't called in sick, but that she hadn't been at work, and that work called him to see where she was at.
All right. So do you remember when you got that phone call from Dalton Jack?
Yeah, I was on the job site at noon. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon. So that's about the time we always wrap up every day.
And was that the first that you had heard that Mollie Tibbetts may be missing?
Yes. Yep.
And that was from Dalton?
From Dalton. Yep.
At the time, what were your plans on that Thursday at 4:30? Were you going to come home that evening? What were your plans?
I had to go help Allie with her car because she forgot her car keys. But my plan was still to come home afterwards. Yes.
So after receiving this communication from Dalton Jack that Mollie had not been heard from, did you get any other phone call from him between helping Allie get her phone keys and driving home to Brooklyn?
No.
Any text messages or phone calls, anything like that? I'm not suggesting there are, but any communications you
can
remember?
Not that I can remember.
It's done it again. Stupid feed. I know it's not me because I jumped ahead. And it had sound.
No, I don't think he asked me, but I did try calling her just to double check. But
so did you have her phone number and her
Yeah.
contact information?
Yep.
And what was the result of your attempt to contact Mollie Tibbetts after talking to Dalton at 4:30?
No answer. So.
And how was it? You just called her number?
Yeah, I called her cell phone.
Did you have her cell number in your phone?
Yeah, I had her contact. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So after receiving this communication from Dalton Jack, what did you and Allie then do?
So I got home, and as I'm pulling into town, two of her friends were driving around and kind of half flagged me down and just asked me if I'd seen her. And I said, I hadn't seen her, but I'm going to the house right now to check on her. Just at that point, I was still assuming that she'd probably just be there or whatever. I didn't know. Went in the house. She wasn't there.
Hang on just a second. I'll get to that. Okay.
Mhm.
So, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're
But, so the two friends, where was it they flagged you down?
That would be North Orchard Street, which is just around the corner from my house.
Okay. So they were on the sidewalk or street?
No, they were driving. They were in a car.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that you stopped and talked to them?
Yep.
And, after that, you went where?
Went back to the house went to the house.
So whenever you arrived back at 622 West Des Moines, do you remember what time you got there?
Not the exact time. No, probably if I left Newton and help out with her car, like 6 o'clock.
But it was still light outside?
Still light outside in the middle of summer. So
Whenever you arrived back at 622 West Des Moines, was anyone else present?
No.
And did you go into the house?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Jack, whenever you went into the house, did you notice anything unusual about any entryway? Was there any sign of that was unusual?
No.
Any broken locks, broken windows, anything like that?
Nope.
Okay. And how was it that you got into your house that day, if you can recall?
Well, I just walked in the door. We don't lock the doors in our small town.
So the door wasn't even locked?
No.
Okay. So whenever you walk in, anything out of the ordinary in the house that you saw?
No, everything pretty much just as we left it.
Where were the dogs?
The dogs were in the basement.
And was that one of the first things that you did whenever you got into the house, was to get the dogs?
Yep. Pretty much anytime anybody comes home, you go down there and get them, let them upstairs.
Did you happen to go up to the room that Mollie shared with Dalton whenever she was with him?
Yeah, I went up there to check and see if she was in there, and she wasn't in there.
And again, anything out of the ordinary in the house?
No.
After checking the house, did you check with any of your neighbors to see if they had seen or heard anything?
Yes, I went over to the neighbors to the west and just checked and see if they had heard or seen anything.
Who did you talk to? Do you recall?
Jeff and Michelle Hall.
Okay. And had they seen or heard anything?
No.
Did you talk to other neighbors or other people in the area?
Yeah, I went a couple blocks away to another neighbor and asked him, just because I knew he was the IT guy for the REC, which is the business directly to the east of my house. And
hang on just 1 second. Whenever you say IT guy, what do you mean?
Well, he handled their computers.
Okay.
stuff.
And the REC is what?
It's just the electric cooperative.
The Rural Electric Cooperative. That's
Yep.
what REC stands for. Is
Yep.
that right?
Yep.
Okay. So who was it? What was his name?
Nate Hopwood.
And did you learn any information from Nate Hopwood?
Well, we asked about the cameras, and he said to us that they were not working because of a storm or something.
What cameras?
There's a couple cameras on the outside. One kind of like faces the road and the parking lot on one side, and that's the one we were kind of hoping to get access to. That's the only one I could see from my house, but
those were not operative?
Yeah, according to him.
Did Nate Hopgood indicate he had seen Mollie running the evening before?
I can't remember.
Okay. Is there anybody else that you talked to?
Just at that point, Mollie's friends were over there, and we're kind of brainstorming, trying to figure out where she might be. And then at some point, after kind of doing our best to track her down, we decided just to call law enforcement.
So how many of Mollie's friends had come over to your house to assist you in trying to find her?
The two girls were there pretty much right away, but then seemed like there was other kids just kept showing up. It's more, there was two other boys I know driving around in a truck and talking to people, but I don't remember how many exactly came over, but there was several.
Did you start to become worried?
I was worried, just that I didn't have any inkling of what happened, but I was kind of worried that she wasn't answering her phone and didn't have contact. There was a big storm the day before, like a tornado that went through Marshalltown, so we didn't know if maybe something that had something to do with it. That was honestly my first thought, was that maybe she got caught in the storm or something, and that's, we didn't know what was the deal, but that was kind of my first inclination of what maybe would happen.
Okay. While you were home and after you had checked with the neighbors to see if they'd seen anything, did Allie come over?
Yeah, she came home a couple hours later. She came back from Ames.
Okay. Did you ever call Mollie's phone?
Oh, we called it a whole bunch of times, just always trying to get through to her.
I think you mentioned that, but you called her a number of times. Is that correct?
Yes.
And her friends did the same thing?
Yes. We tried Facebook, Snapchat, everything.
Okay. And no response?
No response.
All right. Before we finish this up, Mr. Jack, were you familiar, because Mollie had stayed with you, with what her running habits were?
Not exact like where she went, but I know she ran all the time. And when I would see her, generally it'd be like coming back home from work, I'd see her running down the street parallel with where we live. And then I'd see her scatterings around town. I mean, she ran pretty much everywhere. So
Was Mollie a runner in high school?
yeah, she was in track and cross country, I think.
And generally speaking, what would Mollie wear whenever you would see her go out for runs?
Shorts, jogging shoes, either like a tank top or a sports bra. And she always had her, like the iPod thing that holds her phone for music and stuff.
And prior to going to your job in Newton this week that included July 18th of 2018, did you notice anything unusual in the relationship between Dalton Jack and Mollie Tibbetts?
No.
Did they seem to be getting along?
Yes. I don't think she would be staying in our house if they weren't getting along.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jack, one thing I do want to point out here on our exhibits. Hang on just a second. I'd shown you exhibit 4. Can we get that up, please?
I can see it on here.
I know they can't see it on the screen. So we've been talking a bit about 622 West Des Moines Street. I may have gotten a bit ahead of myself, but this area here that we see on the left side of the photo is your house that you indicated, correct?
Yep.
And again, I know we've seen this before too, but this is exhibit number 7, which is on the screen, which has been admitted. This was the house that you returned to July 18th of 2018, correct?
Yes.
All right. All right. At this time, that's all the questions I have for Mr. Jack. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Defense may cross-examine.
Sir, I've got a few questions for you. It sounds like when you heard about Mollie Tibbetts being missing, that it concerned you. Is that right?
Yes.
You remember that phone call?
From Dalton, yes.
You remember where you were?
Yes, I was in Newton.
Did you get a pit in your stomach right away when you heard that?
I mean, I was just a little bit nervous for him, but wasn't thinking it was anything to be terribly concerned about until I got home.
You'd agree with me that Mollie isn't the type of person that would just, go off the radar for a day or two.
Oh, absolutely not. She was always attached to her phone.
She took pride in showing up to work every day. Is that right?
Yes.
She was a very conscientious employee at the daycare that she worked at. Is that right?
Yes.
She enjoyed her job and enjoyed being a presence in her children's life, or not her children, but the children's life. Is that right?
Yep.
And so it was unusual that she would just not show up to work. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, it sounds like just about as soon as you found out about this, you tried to get yourself back to Brooklyn. Is that correct?
Yes.
The first thing that was done is you and other friends tried. I wasn't sure if it was me or you that.
Deep
The first
breathing.
thing that was done is a group of friends kind of gathered together to see if they could locate Mollie. Is that right?
When I got back, yeah. Yep.
You talked about Facebook and Snapchat and different location ways to track her. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't do Snapchat, but if you could enlighten me a little bit, there's something that's called location services. Is that right?
As far as like the map thing, yeah.
And essentially, if you are a friend or an acquaintance on Snapchat, you can see that person's location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you use Snapchat at that point in time?
I have Snapchat, but I don't think I had her as a friend, but her friends that were with us did.
And so one of the first things that was done is to kind of look and see if they could see Mollie's location. Is that correct?
Yep.
Because it would be pretty usual that their friends would be able to see exactly where she was. Is that right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it just depends on whether you have the ghost mode on or whatever, but yeah.
Now, as soon as you were not able to find Mollie, the police were called. Is that correct?
Correct.
You were asked to give a couple of different interviews. Is that right?
Yes.
I think on July 20th, so the day after she went missing, you were asked to interview. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where was that interview at?
One was down at the municipal building in Brooklyn, and the other was at the fire department in Brooklyn.
And those are pretty soon after Mollie had went missing. Is that correct?
Yeah, one was like the day or day after, and then the next one was later on in the week after we'd been searching for a while.
be fair to say that you were cooperative with any investigation techniques that law enforcement wanted to utilize with you. Is that right?
Yes.
So if they wanted you to come in for another interview, you were happy to do that. Is that right?
Yes.
They also asked you to do a polygraph. Is that right? Sir, were you ever asked to give a swab
Welcome back.
of your DNA?
No, I don't think, not that I can think of.
Another thing that law enforcement did is they asked for different devices that you had. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were cooperative with providing those devices to law enforcement. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, I think you said, here's my cell phone, take it and you can run anything on it that you need. Is that right?
Yes.
So anything, any messages or anything that were on that phone were voluntarily provided to law enforcement. Is that correct?
Yes.
You and Dalton are both avid hunters. Is that right?
Yes.
What do you hunt?
Deer, pheasants, turkeys, primarily.
Does Dalton also hunt deer,
Yes.
pheasants,
Yes.
turkeys?
Yep.
You two hunt together?
Yes.
I would assume that it's not unusual for your home to have guns that you use to hunt with. Is that correct?
Correct.
What kind of guns would those be?
Rifles and shotguns.
You also had a 357 at your home. Is that right?
Yep.
And another thing, you don't use the knives in, I guess, in hunting, but if you if you shoot a deer, you would use the knife to gut the deer. Is that right?
Yep. Field dress it. Yep.
And would it be fair to say that you've got several different knives in your residence?
Yes.
Same with Dalton?
Dalton had a couple, yeah.
You two would generally hunt together fairly regularly. Is that right?
During season, I mean, we bow hunted together. That was kind of our favorite thing to do. And then we'd shotgun hunt with our family. We have a group that goes every first season shotgun.
Mollie and Dalton did have their problems. Isn't that right?
Not that I'm aware of.
There was issues with him cheating on her with another woman.
Not that I'm aware of.
So you're not aware of any problems involving that?
No, but I'm sure he wouldn't be the first 18-year-old.
Groceries, I think. Lola's mum.
Dalton
Nothing
was
that
also
exciting.
known for having some anger problems.
Can you elaborate on that?
He was known to get into fights at school.
And then one boy that hasn't.
You don't know
At
anything about
16.
Dalton having any anger problems?
No.
No further questions.
Mr. Brown, anything else to this witness?
Just 1 second.
Bye, boss.
That's all the questions we have. Thank you.
Mr. Jack, thank you for being here. You're excused.
Mr. Jack Mehoff.
Statement calls next witness.
State's next witness is Dalton
Mr.
Jack.
Dabalina, Mr. Bob Dabalina. She's not reading Palola's mum. She's unpacking. So, Hannah, Palola's mum says hi. Hi, honey. Did you move? You're unpacking.
Nothing but the truth and nothing else. Okay, Mr. Jack, make your way right over there. Be seated if you would, please.
Picks up a little bit. Right there.
You may proceed when you're ready, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Jack, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name for the record?
I am Dalton Jack.
And currently, Mr. Jack, how are you employed?
I am employed by the United States Military and the Army,
Okay, what is your current duty station with the Army?
Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
And in what branch of the Army, or what's your assignment within the Army?
I am in the 82nd Airborne Division as a sergeant, team leader.
Say that again.
Team leader, I guess, would be my official input position.
When did you join the Army?
November of 2018. November 6th is my official date.
And whenever you joined the Army, obviously you went to basic training, right?
Yes.
When was it that you were assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division in Fort Bragg?
April of 2019.
And what's your job within the military? What do you do day to day?
I'm a team leader, so I have 4 soldiers underneath me that I take care of and lead pretty much.
And your current rank, say that again.
E5 sergeant.
How old are you?
I am 23 years old.
Tell the jury They're all behind me here. So tell the jury where it is, Mr. Jack, that you grew up.
I grew up in Brooklyn, Iowa.
Do you live anywhere else other than Brooklyn, Iowa, growing up?
There was like a year and a half or so that we lived in Linville, Iowa, but we continued to go to Brooklyn schools.
And where did you go to high school?
BGM, Brooklyn High School,
And what year did you graduate?
2016.
Your brother is Blake?
Yes,
You have another brother, correct?
yes.
What's his name?
Randy,
And what's your parents' names?
Brian, and Cindy.
Growing up, Mr. Jack, did you participate in sports in high school?
Yes.
When was it, whenever you were in high school, did you know Mollie Tibbetts?
Yes, I did.
All right, did you date at all while you were in high school?
No, we didn't. Well, yeah, we started dating my senior year after a football game.
Okay. And where was Mollie Tibbetts in relation to your high school class? What class was she in?
She was 1 grade below mine.
How long had you known Mollie Tibbetts while you were in high school? Did you know her all her life?
I mean, everybody knows each other in Brooklyn High School. We graduated with a class of like 50 people. So
So everybody knows everybody?
Yeah.
After graduation, Mr. Jack, what did you do with regard to school?
I went to Hawkeye Community College for a year and then decided that wasn't for me pretty much.
Where is Hawkeye Community College located?
It is in Waterloo, Iowa.
And what did you study there generally?
Sustainable construction and design.
So you have the same interest in construction as your brother Blake?
Yes.
What are your plans, by the way, once you get out? Are you going to get out of the Army at some point in time? Do you have plans to come back to Iowa?
I don't know if I'm going to get out of the Army anytime soon, so I haven't really thought about it.
So the Army right now is your career?
Yes.
After your year at Hawkeye Community College, what did you decide to do with regard to schooling?
I elected to not go back to school and instead go to work.
And whenever you came back from college, where did you move to?
I moved back to
Oh,
Brooklyn,
shit.
Iowa, and then started
Sorry.
working at Jasper Construction.
So where did you live then when you moved
This
back?
is really confusing. They've got it split into three different.
I don't know if I'm going to get out of the
things.
Army anytime soon, so I haven't
Three
really thought
day
about it.
ones.
So the Army.
So the first one was him, right? Then the next one on day one started off with his brother. Remember how it ended with the brother on the opening statements? So I went back to him. So this must be a bit of this and a bit of that. And then there's two fucking more. There's one up here. Who's on that one? Someone Nunez Torres or something. What's this one? Matthew Simpson. So they're different witnesses, but they must overlap. I'll start that one. I don't know what they've done with their this is defendant's cousin. This is just one witness. Right. And they start off where? 18, no. Oh, no. Here we go. There we go. Halfway mark. Fucking hell. Obviously, I wasn't paying attention.
Claver, you
I was
can
writing you a
proceed
writing
Thank
you a
you, Your Honor.
message.
Would you state your name, please?
Aurelie Nunez Lorenzana,
And could you spell that for me?
Areoy, last name Nunez -LORENZNA,
How old are you?
27.
Are you employed?
Yes.
Where do you work?
Iowa Premium in Tama,
What is Iowa Premium?
beef pack plant.
And how long have you worked there?
4 years in August.
And what do you do at the plant?
Labor maker, and I sometimes help in the clerk.
Do you live in Tama?
Toledo now,
Is that near Tama?
5 minutes away.
Do you know Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
Yes.
How do you know him?
We're related, cousins.
How long have you known him?
10 years.
Do you see Mr. Bahena Rivera in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you point him out for me and describe what he's wearing, please?
He's wearing a white shirt, blue pants.
Anything else you can tell me about him?
Like,
Is he wearing headphones?
yes.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
Record will so reflect.
Ms. Lorenzana, have you ever owned a black Chevy Malibu?
Yes.
And when did you acquire that vehicle?
2015.
Did you purchase it with cash?
No, I got a loan
And why did you buy that car?
for Mr. Christian.
Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
Yes.
And did you give it to him as a gift?
No.
How did it come about that you made that purchase for him?
He asked me if I could get him the car. He needed it for transportation.
He approached you about purchasing the car for him?
Yes.
And where did you purchase the car?
West Finch and Grinnell.
Did you register as the vehicle owner?
Yes.
Did you ever use that Chevy Malibu?
No.
Did you know that Chevy Malibu to be the exclusive vehicle of Mr. Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
Yes.
Were you aware of anyone else driving that car?
No.
Did you have an arrangement with Cristhian Bahena Rivera for payment on that vehicle?
He would, every month, he would give me the payment, but it was cash. There was no other.
And how were those payments made? Would he physically come to your house and hand you the payment?
Yes.
Did you have insurance on the vehicle?
Yes.
Did you communicate with Cristhian Bahena Rivera by phone, text message, anything like that?
Yeah, text message or Facebook.
Did you socialize with him at all?
Yeah.
And what types of things would you do when you were with him?
Mostly it was family gatherings.
Did you know where Cristhian Bahena Rivera lived?
Yes.
Where did he live?
In Brooklyn, Iowa, on a trailer.
Did you know where he worked?
The farms.
Can you say that again, please?
The farms.
What farms were those? Do you know?
It was in Brooklyn. I don't remember the name. A
Dairy
farm.
Farms?
Yeah.
Had you ever been to the defendant's house in Brooklyn?
Yes.
When was the last time you were there?
Oh. When he first moved over there, I don't know the date.
Do you remember when he first moved to that Brooklyn address?
No.
Did law enforcement at some point in time ask for your permission to search that black Chevy Malibu?
Yes.
And do you recall when that request was made?
In August of 2018.
And did you grant permission to search that car?
Yes.
Ms. Lorenzana, I'm going to show you some photographs here. Exhibit 38.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually two images on the screen, Exhibits 38 and Exhibit 39. Do you see those?
Yes.
And what's depicted in those images?
The car.
You say the car. Can you be more specific for me?
The back and the front of the car.
That the black Chevy Malibu?
Yes.
Is that the car that you bought for the defendant?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
The plates. Recognize them.
And how do you recognize the plates?
The number of the plates.
Is that the number that you registered for that vehicle?
Yes.
I'm going to show you a couple more photographs. Yeah. Exhibits 40 and 41. Do you see those?
Yes.
And are those images of your black Chevy Malibu?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you Exhibit 42. Do you see that?
Yes.
And what's depicted in that image?
Mirror. Chrome mirror.
And is that your black Chevy Malibu?
I don't remember having being that there.
Okay. Is that something that the defendant would have added after you purchased the vehicle for him?
Speculation.
Sustained.
Ms. Lorenzon, when you purchased the vehicle, is the chrome mirror something that was on the vehicle?
I don't recall.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense may cross-examine.
Ma'am, I got the privilege to meet you just outside of the hallway. Is that right?
Yes.
We shook hands.
Yes.
Other than that, you and I have never met. Is that
No.
right?
No.
You've never met Mr. Freese. Is that right?
No.
Were you subpoenaed for this today?
Yes.
So a sheriff came and served you with a subpoena. Is that right?
Before when it got postponed, yeah. But right now, no.
Okay, somebody else served you with a subpoena. And that said that you had to be at court today. Is that
Yes.
right? Now, Christian, you're familiar with his family. Is that right?
Yes.
How are you two related?
My mom's side.
So your mother is his
Aunt.
All right. And his parents are still down in Mexico. Is that right?
Yes.
And you're aware of that through family knowledge. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you spend time with Christian and his daughter?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. This is outside the scope of direct examination.
Sustained.
You did go to family gatherings with the family. Is that right?
Yes.
How often would you spend time with Christian?
Before he moved to Brooklyn, we were close. We would spend afternoons together talking or whatnot. But after he moved to Brooklyn, no.
Now, Christian, he has a fair amount of family in the Tama, Toledo area. Is that right?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. This is still outside the scope of direct examination.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and say the question again. So, Christian, he has a fair amount of family in the Tama, Toledo area. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, he lived there for a period of time. Is that right?
Yes.
How long, and I'm not going to hold you to it, but how long do you recall him living in the Tama, Toledo area?
I don't remember the times, to be honest.
Would it be more than a year?
Yes.
More than 2 years?
Yes.
Maybe, maybe not. When he was living in that area, was he working at the Yerby Farms?
No.
Do you recall where he was working?
In Blairstown at a dairy farm.
Now, I'm assuming that you don't make a business of buying vehicles for other people. Is that right?
No.
Have you ever done this sort of thing for someone before?
No.
Why is it that you did it for Christian?
Because he's my cousin and he needed a way of transportation.
Why wouldn't he be able to buy the vehicle himself?
Because he wasn't able to.
It would have to do with him not having papers. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, Christian, have you had any problems with him paying you for this vehicle?
No.
What was the car payment for it?
$300 or more.
Well, let's call it $300 or a little bit more per month. Is that right?
Yes.
And so you would make that payment yourself. Is that right?
Yes.
And then Christian would make the payment to you.
Yes.
Did he make sure that those payments were timely?
It was always first of the month. He would always take the money.
So you never had a problem with him with squabbling about money?
Never.
Was he grateful to you for helping him so that he would have transportation?
Yes.
Did he thank you several times?
Yes.
And did he make sure that through being timely and taking the money to you that you were shown how grateful he was?
Yes.
Have you ever known Christian to be a violent man?
Objection, Your Honor. Improper character evidence.
Sustained.
Have you ever had any bad interactions with Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
Objection, Your Honor. Same reason.
Sustained.
No further questions.
State having you redirect.
Ms. Lorenzon, how many payments did the defendant make on his vehicle?
We purchased it for $13,000, and when I finished paying $5,000 afterwards, but I don't remember the amount exactly.
So the loan was for $13,000?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, it was a period of 6 years, I believe, and I paid it in 2020.
When was the last time you saw the defendant before August of 2018?
In July, there was a family gathering.
July 2018?
Yes,
And where was that family gathering?
the Tama Ballroom in Tama.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any recross?
Yes. This family gathering was, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
It was a birthday party.
Who was the birthday party for?
It was his aunt's husband,
And his aunt is who?
Romana Benita.
How many family members were there?
All of them.
Do you remember when the tornado came to Marshalltown?
Yes,
Do you remember if it was before or after that?
it was before.
Now, at this family gathering, did everyone seem happy?
Yes,
Did Christian seem happy?
yes,
Were there any issues with him fighting or arguing?
No.
Did he ever mention to you that he had a date coming up?
yes.
And the date would be with who?
I don't know the name.
Just that he had a date with a woman.
Yes.
No further questions.
Anything else for this witness?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ma'am, thank you for being here. You're excused. You may step down. Members of the jury, that concludes our work for today. We're going to be in recess until tomorrow morning. I'm going to ask you to be back at the same time tomorrow as you were here today. We'll start. Truth will help you guide.
Yes.
Okay, and be seated right over there, if you would, please. State may proceed when it's ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you state your name, please?
Jelena Scheck,
And how do you spell it?
Jillenaschek.
All right, I think this is the last of day one. That I can see. Got 1, 2,
And what is
3
your
day,
maiden name?
4
Maya.
day twos.
When were you married?
June 16th, 2018.
Are you employed?
Yes,
And where do you work?
Grinnell High School.
What do you do at the high school?
I'm a special education teacher.
And how long have you held that position?
8 years.
Have you had any other employment other than the job that you have now in the last 8 years?
Yes, I ran the hospital's day camp for 10 years. Well, I worked there. I was a supervisor the last 5.
And what were your duties at the daycare?
We took care of
Duties.
children. We
Duties.
planned activities. We did field trips. My specific duties as a supervisor, I planned the schedule for everyone. We made snacks and activities and all that kind of stuff with the kids.
Approximately how many children did you have at that daycare?
On any given day, we had roughly 60 kids. On field trip days, we had almost 80.
And were you the supervisor at the daycare in July of 2018?
Yes.
And on any given day, how many other people did you have working there with you?
There were 10 employed through the hospital, and then we had 4 or 5 that were through the college AmeriCorps group.
Did you know Mollie Tibbetts?
Yes.
How did you know Mollie?
I knew her through work, and I also knew her through her family. Her aunt or her uncle married my best friend's mom, so I knew her through family as well.
And how long would you say that you had known Mollie Tibbetts?
I probably first was introduced to her when her Uncle Eric and Aunt Billy got married, so maybe 8-9 years ago.
Did Mollie work at the daycare where you worked?
Yes.
Did you hire her?
Yes, I wasn't part of the interview process because I was teaching, but my boss, Chad Nath, did.
Could that name your appearance?
Chad Nath.
And did Mollie work at the daycare the summer of 2018?
Yes.
In July of 2018?
Yes.
And what was Mollie's position at the daycare?
She was considered a day camp intern. We are considered interns because we're seasonal. And she did all the similar things I do: took care of children, took care of the skinnies, helped set up snack, do activities with kids, go on field trips, just supervise the children being children.
And was the intern position a paid position?
Yes.
And had Mollie worked at the daycare prior to 2018?
Yes, I believe she worked the summer before as well. So 2018 was her second year.
And you know how old Mollie was when she worked at the daycare?
19.
She'd been in college?
Yes.
And that's when she started? She was
Yes.
19?
I believe so, yeah.
Did you directly supervise Mollie?
Yes.
And were you responsible for the scheduling at the daycare?
Yes, it was.
And how did those schedules generally work? What were the hours?
So because we were affiliated with the hospital, we were technically open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. because doctor's hours and nurses' hours. But we rotated through shifts. So we had like an opener, and then like an hour later, we had the next person come in and kind of scattered through. And then the closer would kind of float because we could only work a strict 40 hours a week. And obviously nurses can work like 12-hour days. So we were most of the time closed by 5:30.
Ms. Sheck, what was the process at the daycare if one of the employees couldn't make it into work? How would that notification process work?
Typically, they would message myself or Chad, typically me because I was one that was there daily. And then if they knew ahead of time, they would let me know. We'd put it on the calendar. We'd often switch shifts, or I'd like leave and come back for the day. Like I said, we had to kind of be really flexible with only having to work 40 hours only. The hospital didn't really want us to go for overtime.
And how would you describe Mollie Tibbetts' attendance at her job?
She was there all the time unless she like knew she had commitments. That summer she missed the first week because of her dad's wedding. So we just filled in and kind of spread ourselves out a little bit more. And she was always on time. It was very unlike her.
Was Mollie scheduled to work on July 19th, 2018?
Yes, she was the closing person.
Did Mollie show up for work on that day?
No, she did not.
Did she notify you that she wouldn't be in?
No, she did not.
Was there an event planned at the daycare that day?
Yes, we had a field trip. We were going to the county fair.
And did you make any attempts to contact Mollie?
Yes, I messaged her, like a text message, and I believe I called her.
And did you think that was out of the ordinary for Mollie not to show up that day?
Yes.
Did you think it was out of the ordinary for Mollie not to notify you that she wouldn't be in?
Yes, it was very odd.
How many attempts did you make to reach Mollie?
I would say at least 2 or 3 times.
And was that by text message?
A text, and I believe I called too.
Did you make any effort to contact a third party to ask about Mollie's whereabouts?
Not until after we were back from our field trip when I realized she hadn't messaged me back.
What time did you return from the field trip?
We got back about 3, and then I kind of finished up what I had to do there. And before I left, I sent a message to her cousin.
And who was her cousin?
Kelsey Sheets.
Do you recall approximately when you would have made that first attempt to reach Mollie?
It was probably about 8:30 because on field trip days we need to report, and everyone needs to be there by 8:30, even the closer.
Did you ever get a response to any of your calls or texts?
No.
Did you ever see or hear from Mollie after July 19th?
No.
When was the last time that you saw or spoke to Mollie?
Probably about 4-ish on Wednesday night before I left from the day camp, and she was closing. So
That'd have been July 18th?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead for the record. Say that out loud, though.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheck. I have no further questions for you at this time.
Okay.
Defense may cross-examine.
We have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here. You're excused.
Thank you.
Okay, statement calls next witness.
Please, next witness is Christina Stewart.
I'll swear you in. If you can raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about the kid will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, make your way over there, please.
Steve, what's your step?
Just speak up. Okay.
State may proceed when you're ready. Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Can you please state your name for the jury?
Christina Stewart.
And Ms. Stewart, how are you employed?
I am self-employed. I own a hair salon downtown Brooklyn,
What's the name of your business?
Sheer Expressions.
And it's located exactly where?
Down on the one way, the main business district of town.
In Brooklyn?
Yep.
And how long have you owned that business?
It'll be 15 years this summer.
And is it full-time work?
Yes.
Do you cut
For the
hair?
most part, yeah.
Is that your job?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have other stylists that work for you?
I've had a couple girls in and out over the years, but right now I'm the only one there. I just had my last one retire.
Okay. Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
3 kids,
All right. How long have you been married?
9 years.
All right. And can you tell the jury where you grew up?
I grew up right outside of town on the 385th Avenue. I graduated from BGM in 2004. Right now I live in town, just a block up from my salon, a couple blocks up from my salon.
Okay. And did you go to college after high school?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you
At
attend?
Capri
college?
in Cedar Rapids.
Say that again.
Capri College in Cedar Rapids.
Was that to get your certification to cut hair?
Yep.
All right. Ms. Stewart, did you know Mollie Tibbetts?
Yes, I knew her and her family.
Okay. Can you describe what kind of relationship you had with Mollie Tibbetts?
Her and her brothers and her mom would occasionally come into the salon.
Okay. And so she was a client of yours?
Yeah, there was several times where I cut her hair and her brother's hair.
Okay. And how long had you known Mollie Tibbetts?
I remember when they moved to town. They came from California, so to move from California to Iowa is,
Okay. So
a little strange.
no, that's okay. So thinking back, how young would Mollie have been when you first met her?
Oh, I would guess maybe around 10, 12.
She was still a young girl.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had known Mollie for quite some time?
Yeah.
And did you ever see Mollie or interact with Mollie outside the hair salon?
No, just at work.
If you would see her on the street, would you recognize her?
Yes.
Would you be acquainted enough that you would say hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or smile.
Maybe
Yeah.
talk about what was going on.
Yeah. How are
with your
you?
life. Okay. All right. Ms. Stewart, I want to direct your attention back to July 18th of 2018. You happen to remember that day, is that correct?
Wednesday?
Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
Yep. And where were you living with your family on July 18th of 2018?
403 Jackson Street in Brooklyn,
Okay. And where were your parents living?
385th Avenue.
Is that
Brooklyn.
the farm that you grew up on?
Yes.
That you just mentioned earlier?
Yep.
And what type of vehicle did you drive?
I have a 2015 white Dodge Grand Caravan.
Okay. Now, on July 18th of 2018, did you have plans to go to your parents' house at the residence near Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the purpose of that visit?
We had sweet corn for supper, so we always just took the scraps out to feed the horses. I have 3 kids and I'm really close to my mom, so we're out there, especially in the summertime, a couple times a week.
Okay. And whenever you went out to your parents on July 18th of 2018, did your children go with you?
Yes.
All right. How about your husband? Was he there?
No.
Okay. So whenever you would have driven from your home to your parents' home, describe, if you recall, the route that you used to get there.
So when I live on the main road that takes you through town, so I just go straight down the main road and I take a right, and that road minus a couple there's a curve that just takes you straight out to the blacktop.
So is the main road through town, what street is that?
Jackson Street is the street that I live on. That takes you
Did you go up to West Des Moines?
East Des Moines Street. Yep, sorry.
I'm sorry. Don't get ahead of me. Hang on a second. So what street would you have taken out of town towards your parents, at least to begin with?
I pulled out of my driveway onto Jackson Street, and then I took a right onto East Des Moines Street.
Okay. And East Des Moines goes east through east and west through Brooklyn?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And you would have eventually then ended up on 385th?
Yes.
And that's the road your parents lived on?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember about what time of night or evening that you went to your parents on 385th?
It was about 7:45.
Okay. Did you happen to be looking at a watch as you were driving through town?
No, not exactly, but I wanted to get out there before, it got too dark.
Okay. So you left your house at about a little before 7:45. Would that be accurate?
Right around there, yeah.
And how long does it take you to get out to your parents' house?
For like 4 minutes.
What was the weather like on the evening of July 18th of 2018?
It was nice day, clear weather.
All right. And as you drive out on 385th, what direction do you go towards your parents?
East.
And was the corn up in the fields?
Yes.
Okay. And as you go out on 385th, we'll look at a map here in just a minute, but as you go out on 385th, is there any curves or turns in that road?
There is a couple, yes.
Okay. Can you describe those for the jury, please?
So right before East Des Moines hits 385th, there's a curve that takes you out onto Blacktop. And right before my parents' house, there's an S curve.
Okay.
Right before there.
And after the S curve is your parents' residence where you enter?
Yeah.
Is it, what side of the road is it on?
The left side, the north.
Now, on July 18th of 2018, at shortly after 7:45 p.m., were you driving east on 385th towards your parents?
Yes.
And as you were driving east on 385th, did you notice any person on the side of the road?
Yes.
Can you please describe for the jury who you or what you saw?
A younger woman.
Okay. And did you recognize that person?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And who is that?
Mollie Tibbetts.
Okay. What was she doing?
She was running eastbound.
On 385th?
On 385th.
And how was Mollie dressed?
She was wearing black spandex shorts with a bright pink sports bra. And she also had the armband that held her phone that most joggers wear as they run.
And did you notice anything about her hair?
I noticed her hair. I was like a low ponytail. As a hairstylist, that's usually the first thing that I'm drawn to when I see somebody. And I noticed that that was exactly how her hair is.
Okay. And did you recognize her as Mollie Tibbetts?
Yes.
How is it that you could recognize her from driving past her on 385th from the back? How is it that you could do that?
Just from seeing her around town, knowing who she is. Okay. She's not a stranger.
All right. And had you seen Mollie Tibbetts out jogging prior to July 18th of 2018? Have you ever seen her before jogging?
No, I mean, not on that road, no.
Okay. So whenever you passed, did you pass her?
Yes.
All right. Where was she running, on the blacktop or on the side of the road? Do you know where she was at?
There's no like gravel shoulder, so it's just blacktop. And she was going up a hill, and as I was going to pass her, she was on the hill. So I was very cautious. I was watching for her, and I was, afraid a car might pop over the hill. So I was cautious for myself too in the vehicle.
Okay. And where exactly did you see her in relation to the S curve on 385th?
It would have been right before the S curve.
Okay. And did you notice anything else unusual with Mollie Tibbetts?
No.
Was she running?
Just running.
All right. And did you see any other vehicles or any other persons around Mollie Tibbetts?
No.
Did you wave or honk at her in any way?
No.
Just to make sure we close this circle, was there anything unusual about Mollie or her surroundings that you noticed at all?
No, she just looked like she was going for a nice, peaceful run.
Now, once you passed Mollie Tibbetts, where did you go?
I went to my parents.
And how long were you there?
I would say between 30 and 45 minutes.
And after being at it was a supper visit, is that correct?
We went out after we had ate. So we fed the horses. They have a patio out back. So usually we'll just, catch up. So yeah, my mom and I sat out back and just talked a little bit before, I had to get home and get the kids to bed.
It's not a huge deal to catch up on. No, it goes for 7 days. So it's basically, they're just laying the foundation of what everyone was doing, I think, on the timeline. But yeah, she went missing on the 18th after a run, and the defendant remembers seeing her on the road, trying to talk to her, and she's threatened to call the police. And then apparently he blacks out because he lost his temper and had a confrontation with her. And the next thing he's woken up, the next thing he recalls is he's driving near some cornfields, and he remembers that Mollie's in his trunk. So he disposes of her in the cornfields and goes about his business. and they didn't find her for 4 weeks, but he ended up taking them there. Kansas University. Oh, the Iowa one. Wow. So this is not far from you. Yeah, absolutely. She's only 20. Stabbed, what did they say? 7 to 12 times, I think they said. All upper torso, abdomen, neck, and I think skull, I think he said. Yes. This is Teresa's requested trial. So welcome back, trial. She's been hanging for months.
So you left about 30 to 45 minutes later?
And this is only day one still, so yeah, you haven't missed anything, honest. Sorry. I think it's a StreamYard issue. I've still got internet. The video was still playing. So I don't know what's going on. I'll finish this one off though. We've got a little bit longer. Stupid fucking thing. I don't know what's going on with it, but the stream isn't dropping out. Otherwise, I'd have to set up a new stream, and I can still watch I was still watching the stream, the feed. It's StreamYard that's dropping out.
Yes, barely. I would say.
Did you notice anything unusual when you left your parents?
Sorry.
No, I didn't see her running. And I mean, usually when you see somebody running out there, you expect to see them on the way back to town. And I can confirm that I did not see her running back on my way back to town.
So when you went back home, no Mollie Tibbetts, right?
No.
I'm going to show you some a diagram. Okay, can you see that on your screen?
Just need to go get another vape.
Okay. All right. I know there's some other markings on this screen, but on this map is 385th Avenue. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that the road that you're familiar with that you just described?
Yes.
All right. And this is Boundary, which is a street in Brooklyn. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
As you go up Boundary, you can take a right onto 385th.
Yeah, that would be the first curve, first little curve.
Okay. And then you go around the curve.
Yep, another curve.
And this is headed out towards your parents. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. We have marked on the map. We've met with you before trial, correct?
Correct.
And you helped us pinpoint where it was that you believe that you saw Mollie Tibbetts. Is that right?
That's right.
Is that marked here on the map accurately?
It is accurate.
So where my laser pointer is, who did you see at that location?
Mollie Tibbetts.
And what is this area of the county blacktop here?
That is the S curve.
All right, just to be clear, and using this map, which direction would Mollie Tibbetts have been running whenever you saw her on July 18th of 2018?
Eastbound.
So she would have been running towards the curve.
Correct.
All right. I'm going to show you what's also been introduced as State's Exhibit number 6. This is a little bit further east of that location. Is that right?
That's right.
Does it accurately show the location where you observed Mollie Tibbetts running on July 18th of 2018?
Yes.
And my laser pointer is on a property here. What is that?
That is my parents' house.
Okay. So that's where you would have stopped.
Yes.
All right. Now, this is a GPS map. Would you agree?
I agree.
All right. How would you describe the terrain in this area from the spot where Mollie was sighted by you out into this area where your parents' house is? How would you describe the road? Is it flat? Is it hilly? How would you describe it?
There's just one hill. The hill that I saw her would be the steepest hill to my parents. And then there's a farm past my parents that has just a couple of little hills.
Okay. So the hill that you're talking about is here where I've got the pointer, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And this farm that is east of your parents,
Yes.
is that lived in?
No, there's just some grain bins and a couple barns.
So nobody
Just
resides?
a farm.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Just a farm. No house.
We can't both talk at the same time with the correct pointer. So let's go back to July 18th of 2018. Would anyone have been living in this area or this location that's on 385th?
No.
So it would have just been the grain bins and no residents?
Correct.
Okay. And I just want to ask you if you know, as you go further out on this road, have you been out to this
Oh,
location?
yes. Yeah.
All right. There is an intersection that's here. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Does the blacktop continue this
No.
direction?
No, it does not.
Describe the roadways that are here at this intersection.
So right where the roads meet, the blacktop ends, and there's a gravel road. It turns into gravel. If you keep going east, it's a gravel road if you go north and south.
There's a property here. Do you see that where my laser pointer is? Is this a farm property?
Yes.
And does a family or does anyone reside at that property?
Yes.
And back in July of 2018, there were no other residents other than what we see here on the south side of 385th.
Correct.
Is that true? Is that true?
Correct. Yes.
All right. Ms. Stewart, the next day on July 19th of 2018, did you receive any information that Mollie Tibbetts was missing?
Yes.
What was the source of your information, if you know?
My sister had sent me a text message asking if I heard about Mollie.
And do you remember when you got that text message?
Yes, my heart sank because I knew that I passed her.
Okay. When did you actually receive the text message from your sister, if you recall?
I would say it was about 24 hours exactly later than when I had saw Mollie last.
So the next evening?
Yes.
All right. And you said your heart sank?
Yes.
Because you'd seen her the night before?
Correct.
All right. What did you do as a result of receiving that text message and reacting in that way?
I jumped in my car and I said, I'm going to go out on blacktop and drive around to see if I can see anything. So
what did you then do? Did you go out and do that?
Yeah, I went and I picked her up. So I had her, and then my friend lives right across the street from my sister. So her daughter was with me as well, along with my 3 kids. And I'd say we drove around for a good hour until it got dark.
Okay. And where did you drive around?
Back and forth down blacktop. That map that you just had pulled up, we went north and south and east on those gravels.
Did you find anything?
Nothing.
See anything unusual?
No, but the Wednesday night it rained a lot and we didn't see anything.
Okay, but I'm asking about that. So after you got back from your parents on July 18th of 2018, after you'd seen Mollie that evening, did a storm move through?
Yes.
And did it dump a lot of rain?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And the next day, was it difficult to get around at all on the roads that you were on looking for Mollie?
No.
Okay. After you and your other friends had done this search, did you then report your information to law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. And was it that same day on July 19th of 2018?
It was Friday.
So on July 20th?
20th.
And how was it that you communicated with law enforcement?
I had just heard that nobody had heard of her, so I directly called the sheriff's office and reported that I had seen her jogging on Wednesday night.
And did somebody talk to you about that?
Yes.
And who was that? You recall?
Joel stopped into my salon, I would say probably 20 minutes after I got off the phone.
Joel Vanderleest?
Yes.
And who is Joel Vanderleest?
He is an officer with the Powashik County.
Okay. And did you report to him what you have, sorry, I have to look and switch. Okay. Did you report to Deputy Vanderleest what you testified to here today?
I did.
Do you know anything else about the disappearance of Mollie Tibbetts?
No, I don't.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Stewart, I don't have any further questions.
Defense may cross-examine.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, would you mind bringing Exhibit 5 up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hang on a second. Exhibit 5?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Ma'am, I'm going to ask you a couple questions about that, but I've got a couple things before that. How did it feel to get that text message from your sister just a day after you saw Mollie Tibbetts running?
I was really worried about her.
Do you remember where you were?
When I received the message?
Yes.
Yes, I was at home, just sitting on my deck.
All right. It was probably a pretty surreal memory for you.
I remember this day like it was just yesterday.
Now, your salon is just kind of right around the same area of this. Is that right?
No, that's not my salon.
Okay.
It's not just me, apparently. Apparently X is down as well. So sorry. I can't do anything about it. It just keeps dropping out. We've got about 5 minutes left, I think.
Right.
So it would be
It's almost like a dead end road.
right. So it'd be the intersection of Boundary Street and East Des Moines Street. Is that right?
No.
Okay. Tell me that.
Only a couple of minutes left.
So it would be at the end of Des Moines Street. Is that correct?
Yes. Basically where
Right.
East Des Moines Street.
There's
ends.
another missing woman right now on spring break. What's the DR? In the Lakeland Raleigh case was so sad. I hated season. Yeah.
There's a cemetery.
All right. Okay. So just right where the cursor is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ma'am, did you notice anything else unusual that you haven't mentioned?
No,
Did
I
you-
didn't see anybody else out there.
I'm sure you're aware now that there's alleged to have been a black Malibu that's involved.
Correct.
Did you see that vehicle at ever?
No,
Thank you.
not that night.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Brown, anything else of this witness?
And just 1 second. No further questions. Thank you.
Stuart, thank you for being here. Your
You're
excuse.
welcome.
Well, why don't we do this? Let's take a 10-minute recess. Just want to remind you of your admonition. Leave your notebooks where they are. let them, give them just a minute, and then we'll take our 10-minute recess, okay? Thank you.
I don't think they come back from their recess. No, because I think I played the one that was on after this earlier for day one, because there was 4 of them. So I apologise for that. But yeah, apparently Twitter was down, or X was down as well. It's only just come back up. So I don't know what's going on, whether it has to be StreamYard, because I was sitting here watching YouTube and then noticed that it wasn't streaming onto the StreamYard. So I don't know what's going on. Yes, she got kind of lost in the mess, which is a shame. It sounds like a bit like John O'Keefe. So correct. We had a young girl murdered in Nashville. She was from New Jersey, my hometown. We all knew her. Oh, college student out running, shot by a legal immigrant. Oh, I remember, yeah, right back at the very start when it happened, I was glued to YouTube when the Idaho 4 murders happened. So I'm hanging for that to come to fruition. I've been waiting a long time. But yes, do take care. It's not nice out there. Not everyone's as nice as me anyway. So what's today? Monday. Tomorrow is Tandem Tuesday. And I'll see if I play. I'll see how I feel afterwards. It's my daughter's coming over for her birthday later on today. So I'll see how I feel after Tandem. Yeah. So what was that, Paloval's mum? You said there was someone missing. Did you say? Oh, a minute. What? This one here. Another missing woman right now on spring break. Is that supposed to be Dominican Republic? Is it? Yeah. I'm guessing. Yeah. All right. All right, my loves. Thank you very much for watching. It was good to see you all again. You look after yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Especially you, Miss Teresia. Rest up. And did you... Oh, hang on. I'm going to have to do it again. That's if it'll let me. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Come on. Load him up. I'm going to wish my daughter a happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Oh, look, it even matches the colours. Happy birthday, Leash. We call her Lalu because that's what she used to say. I love you. Lalu. Lalu, Mum. And it's stuck. All right. Be good. If you can't be good, be good at it. Love yous all. Toots.
Hey there, thanks for stopping in. We hope you will join us again. We all look forward to next time. We get to talk about true crime. Clues. Justice served in an honest fight. True crime tales till the verdict's right. Solving more than just trivial quests, where sentences rule and the defense rests. Our true crime family is great. All types of topics we debate. Smash that like and ring that bell. Hit subscribe, you might as well.